Hello, gamers. You're listening to the Short Pause Gaming Podcast. This is episode number 145. And welcome back to another edition of the Short Pause Gaming Podcast. I'm Brent Felsing, and join me tonight, Bender Holt and Ben Boyce. Gentlemen, how are we doing this evening? Bender.
Pretty good. How about yourself?
Oh, you know me. I'm the succulent meat in the middle of a Ben sandwich, so I'm doing pretty good. Boyce?
I'm doing good as well, because I'm the succulent bread in that sandwich with you as the meat, and yeah.
Oh wow, that's just got awkward. You know, actually, let's do this way. You're the meat. You'll be the bread
for 145 episodes now.
You'll be the bread. I'll be the meat. Bender can be that au jus sauce that he dips us in. It's like a French dip. Yeah.
The cheese or something.
I want you to be the au jus. I want you to be the au jus. Now I'm hungry. No Frankie Ayler tonight. He's off this week, and but he'll be back next weekend. But gentlemen, what have we been doing this week? Boys, playing any games this week? Let's talk about that Tuesday Night Indie Spotlight.
Yeah, Tuesday Night Indie Spotlight was Plox Neon. So, didn't know what to expect out of this game going into it. You know, we're still at the beginning of the year here, so we haven't really got into the heart of the release schedule for 2018 yet. So just kind of a few games trickling out here and there. So not a ton of games that are released in the first couple weeks of January. So we grabbed Plox Neon. It was one of the only new releases this week. It was an interesting looking title nonetheless. It was it's a kind of a unique puzzler where you control this kind of spaceship, and you need to basically, you're tasked with kind of drawing shapes around parts of the level, and once you complete a shape, it'll eliminate that part of the level. There's enemies that are around the level as well, and you have to try to eliminate them as well. So it's an interesting concept. I can't say that I've ever played a puzzle game like that one before. So interesting looking game. Sounded like it had a rockin' soundtrack too. You know, like a nice like techno puzzle soundtrack. So so what the hell? Let's fire up Plox Neon. So you joined me for that stream, Brent, in our kind of new look indie spotlight, our kind of first go at it this year. So if you guys didn't get to see the spotlight last week, Brent's gonna be joining me on the spotlight this year, and we're gonna be tackling the chat together, having dialogues about the games that we're playing, and also giving away codes for the games that we're playing. So anytime that we're able to get some extra codes and have those available for you guys, make sure you're tuning into the spotlight. You'll be able to win a copy of the game that I'm playing, or that Brent's playing with me. So so Plox Neon, it's the problem with Plox Neon is it's an obtuse game. It's an obtuse puzzle game. There are no tutorials in this game. So you just kind of thrown right into the wolves. Like you hit start and you're just right at level 1. It's like, there you go. There's no voiceovers. There's no text on screen. There's literally nothing about this game that you have any concept of outside of, here's a game, go play it.
Right.
That's all Plox Neon tells you. And I just got done talking about how this is a unique puzzle game, and I haven't quite played anything like this. So you would think in a situation like that, it'd be swell if the game would maybe give you some kind of an idea of what this unique puzzle game was about and what you're supposed to do. So, an hour later, I still wasn't 100% sure exactly what the rules of engagement were for Plox Neon or what I was supposed to do. And that was my biggest issue with the game. I don't know that the frame rate was where it needed to be for that game either. It's kind of weird to explain, but it seems like a 60 frames game trapped in a 30 frames body, if that makes any kind of sense. But it doesn't look like it's running at the proper speed. It's smooth. It's not really like choppy per se. There's not like skipping frames, but it just doesn't. I don't know. There's just something about it that doesn't look right. So right. I'm not a digital foundry like TechWiz, so that's about as technical as a description as you're gonna get from me about Plox Neon. But yeah, Brent, I was playing through Plox Neon. You were there with me trying to help me, and we just couldn't figure out for the life of us like what exactly constituted trapping a monster, what exactly you had to do to eliminate an area of the level. It's just like there's some key like mechanical elements of the game that the game doesn't tell you, that we're not 100% sure on, that we kind of had an idea, of what we're supposed to do, and we got, I think, close to what the game wanted us to figure out, but still not 100% comfortable with what exactly you're supposed to do in that game. And hopefully developer Desert Owl Games, at some point in the future, they can either add a tutorial or give us a how to play screen, something. Just give us something in the game. Literally, it's play and options. That's it. Options is very basic, like move the slider for the volume, and that's about it. And then play the game. So yeah, 20 levels into the 60 levels that Plox Neon has, still not 100% comfortable with what I'm supposed to be doing in that game.
Right.
But I think there's an interesting concept there, Brent, and it is a nice game to kind of kick back. It's a pretty chill experience. It's not too stressful. Some of the later levels may get that way. Looks like the intensity did ramp up a little bit as we got on with the levels there. But an interesting concept, great soundtrack from what we heard, but just not all the way there yet. The execution was flawed.
Right. Yeah, everything that I saw, like you mentioned, the soundtrack was really, really good. And, and I'm sure a game like that would probably look even better at 60 frames. So it was really strange. It's not a demanding game whatsoever. But you got to wonder, again, this is a $7.99 game. What kind of, I'm sure there's a budget in place where they're like, hey, look, we can only go over so much amount to make something happen. Yeah. So I don't know what all goes into, what all that entails. But, with a $7.99 title, like you said, it's a very chill experience. It's one you can just sit back and play and, but again, yeah, like you mentioned, it'd be nice if there was just something like, hey, look, this is what you have to do to get the most points, how you can trap these guys and destroy them and whatnot. What counts as you clearing out an area, because we weren't even sure on that. Just some of it wasn't very easy to understand, but there are some strengths to the game, but it needs a little bit of love.
Yeah, it's like every time you get into a level, there's a set of pre-existing walls that enclose the level, or there's even some like in the midst of the level, and you use that as part of your strategy when you're moving through these levels to eliminate areas of the level or to trap the monsters. And every time we went to a new level, it was like, all right, well, I'll trap this monster, and then we would trap them similar to how we trapped the monster prior, but it wouldn't eliminate that monster. And then we'd have to try and shrink that level to trap the monster even more. Then it would eliminate him. It's just like it was it was just kind of, what's the word? It was inconsistent to me, at least just from an outsider playing with no idea of the exact rules of the game. It was inconsistent in how the mechanics played out, and that's a no for puzzle games.
Right.
Like you have to have that consistency to make something like that work properly. And also the game, the kind of the replayability of the game seems to be based around achieving these high scores in the levels, and once again doesn't really tell you exactly how things are scored or the best way to get scores. So we just kind of deciphered as we played along that it seems like the high scores are going to come from being able to trap all of the monsters in the level. Like that's really what you got to try to do. So there's a little bit of nebulousness with that as well. So some good things, some not so good things. Plox Neon. You can watch the video. I wouldn't recommend everybody run out and buy it right now. I'd definitely recommend watching the spotlight, see if that's something you might get into, and then maybe give it a whirl. Like you said, it's not an expensive game, but didn't light the world on fire either when we played it.
Right. And the fact there's no leaderboard when you have these high scores and whatnot, that seems like a missed opportunity. So
yeah.
But anyways, regardless of that, shout out to Desert Owl Games. Thanks again for providing us not only a code to stream it, but we were able to give one away on the air. Yeah. And to check out your game and to showcase it. I mean, there's going to be people that are going to look at that and be like, hey, look, that's $7.99. That'll keep me busy for hours on end. And someone's going to, there are going to be people that'll find some enjoyment in that. Plus, that thing is on every platform just about. I mean, it's on Xbox One. It's on PC. It's on Mac. It's on iPhone. It's on Android. So that thing's everywhere. So I'm sure it's going to do well no matter what. I see that thing probably being a huge hit on phones, but I digress. Did you play anything else this week?
I did. Played a Little Red Lie from Will O'Neill.
Yes.
So Will O'Neill, of course, the creator of Actual Sunlight. If you guys remember that, the very, very interesting title from a couple years back. So Will was gracious enough to provide us with the review copy for Little Red Lie. So I played through Little Red Lie this week, and boy, I didn't really expect what I got out of Little Red Lie. Actual Sunlight was about an hour and a half long. roughly somewhere in that neighborhood. So I spent about 90 minutes with that game, played it from beginning to end, sat down in one sitting, just kind of played it out. And it was it's a very Actual Sunlight's a very dark, very depressing game in many respects. It's a very heavy game, so it's something that if it were to go any longer than 90 minutes, it probably would have been too much. So it was a very interesting experiment in game making. And Little Red Lie, I kind of expected to follow a similar path with this game. Yeah, I expected this to just be like one sitting. Like I'd sit down, play through this game in one sitting, and then I would kind of experience this what story that was probably going to be very dark. 8 or 9 hours later, I finished Little Red Lie, and man, that it was quite the ride. Like I said, I was not prepared for what Little Red Lie had to offer, but that's not a knock against the game. Little Red Lie is kind of what Will started with Actual Sunlight taken to the next level. This is Little Red Lie is a very complex story. There's a lot of stuff going on in this game. If you guys haven't played Actual Sunlight is basically a novel, and that's basically what Little Red Lie is. It's basically like a novella. There's not a ton of gameplay in the game. In fact, even calling it a game or even calling what you do in the game gameplay may even be a little bit of a stretch. In Actual Sunlight and Little Red Lie, essentially you're just interacting with characters or with items in the game world, and each of those things triggers some type of a prose situation or a dialogue exchange between characters. So essentially the game world and the gameplay, so to speak, is just a vehicle to get you to the next piece of prose or the next piece of Will O'Neill writing that you're going to encounter. Now, I'm working on my full review of the game right now. I wanted to get it out earlier in the week, but like I said, I had no idea this game was going to be this involved. So I just finished it up recently, and I'll be working on my review. Hopefully, we have that out early next week, so you guys can read my full thoughts on it. But yeah, it's a very heavy game, man. Like I would really like to like sit down with Will and talk to him about the game, kind of do like a post mortem or like a spoiler cast, I guess you would call it, for that game. Like I'd really like to know his thoughts about why certain things happen, or if some of the things I'm thinking is what he wanted the people that experienced the game to think. So it deals with a lot of very very heavy, very dark themes. It also has the dark humor that Will's kind of known for. So his writing is superb. I mean, he's really a gifted writer. His prose, his dialogue is something that you don't often see in games. Like the quality of it is above and beyond what this entertainment form typically offers us. So if you are a fan of writing, you're a fan of like novels, reading, that kind of stuff, and you also enjoy gaming, like maybe this is something that you sit down and give a whirl, because it is a well written experience with it's something that like incites discussion. It's like when I finished Little Red Lie, I was like, man, I want to sit down and like talk about this with somebody now. So it's that kind of a game. It's something that I mean, hell, you could have like a like a college course like based around, like you could play through Little Red Lie, and that would be like one of the pieces of literature that you discussed in your language arts class or something like that.
Right.
Like it's got that kind of gravitas to it in terms of its themes and its writing. So I don't want to spoil anything about the story on the show here if you guys are looking to play it, but if you are at all interested, or if you've been a fan of Actual Sunlight, or you're interested in a different kind of game, I think Little Red Lie is worth your time just for the writing alone. But like I said, it is not a game in the pure sense of the word, or the most traditional sense of the word. It's barely a game at all. So you have to understand what you're getting into when you get into Little Red Lie. So yeah, so a very very interesting experience, Brent. I'm still trying to wrap my head around exactly like my thoughts on the game and how to proceed forward. I had the same trouble with actual Sunlight. I actually reviewed that game for the website a few years back.
Mhm.
So I will say that if you do have the option to play the game on the Vita, I definitely would play it on the Vita. It's available on the Vita and the PS4.
Mhm.
You know, it's great on the PS4. You know, it's fine. It works perfectly.
Mhm.
But it's a little strange to sit down in your chair and be in front of your like big screen TV and just read a game for 8 hours.
Right.
Whereas as a Vita, you're like holding it in your hands.
Right.
It's a more tactile, like intimate experience. It's like you're sitting down to read a book when you're playing the game on the Vita. So
Mhm.
I like that aspect of the game. So if you do have the option, I would definitely recommend giving it a go on the Vita. But yeah, it's a very 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 interesting game. The last like act, the last hour or 2 hours of that game is quite the emotional roller coaster.
Mhm.
So so yeah, shouts out to Will. But yeah, we need to reach out to him, man. Would love to get him on the show. Would love to talk to him about this game
Mhm.
and kind of pick his brain about it. I think that would be really interesting.
Yeah, I'll actually get on that. I'll see if I can reach out to him and see if we can get him on here for like a developer Q&A. But no, and that's one thing I wanted to ask you, man. I mean, basically, this is a game that's there's not a whole lot of gameplay to it, but so I
Hmm.
mean that puts a lot of focus on the narrative. If you're going to keep people engaged for 8 or 9 hours, the writing has to be there, the story has to be there, and it sounds like Will O'Neill was able to meet that task.
Yeah, I mean, if you can handle some of like the darker themes that he explores, and you can you know you basically you experience the game through two separate characters. So there's one character who's you know going through her life. She's a more like middle class, like kind of your average middle class woman, and the stuff that she deals with her family. Then you've
Hmm.
got the other side of the coin, which is this like upper class guy. His name's Arthur Fox, and he's a total asshole. I mean, he's a terrible person, and he does some terrible things in this game. So
Hmm.
if you can handle like playing with Arthur Fox for hours on end and deal, with, like I said, with someone like the heavier things that Will explores in this game, yeah, I think you're probably in for a very unique. Well, I know you're in for a very unique experience in gaming. There's nothing else quite like this out there. So if that at all is of interest to you, definitely give Little Red Light a shot. It's just there's not much like it in video games.
Man, we were talking earlier about what's it going to be like one day when Will O'Neill pens a script for like a big AAA game. Can you
Yeah,
imagine if Will O'Neill worked with like Quantic Dream for one of their
yeah,
games? Man, that's
yeah.
that's like that would be like the perfect pairing for Will O'Neill. No, a more narrative driven game, but with exciting gameplay elements, but have his
Hmm.
story kind of moving it along. I think that would just be a hell of a matchup right there.
Yeah, like I mentioned a few minutes ago, he's a very gifted writer. It's clear he has a lot of ability in that respect. So I think it would be really interesting to see him, pen a game that's focused around gameplay, or like a gameplay heavy experience, as opposed to the more narrative heavy experiences that he's worked on. Like what if Will worked on an RPG, or like you said, what if
Oh,
he worked with Quantic Dream on one of these adventure games, or maybe even like Telltale or Double Fine, or one of these guys that makes like an adventure game. Like what would one of those look like from him?
mm,
So yeah, I I'd be very, very interested to see that. It's one of the things I'd like to ask him about, like if he's
mhm.
interested in that at all. Yeah, Will O'Neill, very, very interesting guy. Should definitely follow him on Twitter if you don't. He's a very very interesting guy to follow on Twitter.
Yeah,
Lots
he
of
is.
lots of lots of interesting observations and things that he talks about all the time. So
Yes, he does.
um yeah. So Little Red Lie. Don't know I'm gonna score the game or what my final thoughts are gonna look like on that, but look for that early next week.
Awesome, cool. Bender, how about you, man? What have you been playing this week?
This week I've been playing a lot of Xenoblade Chronicles 2 on the
Mm.
Switch, and I'm closing in on 50 hours into the game, and I think I feel like I like it more and more the more I play it. It's a really good game. If this game had come out any other year besides 2017, it definitely would have been in my top 10
Hmm.
of games of the year, but it wasn't there because there's just so many great games. But I like it a lot. It's a game that you learn more and more as you go. The combat seems simple at first, but as you play through, you learn more and more details about different things you can do. It gets pretty deep as you go through the game. Lots of different areas to explore. I think I've discovered like 7 different continents so far, like these titans that you explore and walk around on. I don't know how many there are in total, but that's how many I've found so far. But yeah, I like the combat and the game mechanics and everything. The story is really interesting. I really like the characters. Like one thing I'm just recently discovering 50 hours in is like you know how you've played like the first game when they re-released on 3DS. So you know how they had this battle mechanic called break and topple. So you could break a monster's defenses, then knock them over.
Right.
So they've got that in this game too. But they have a new one called launch. So after you topple them, you can launch them in the air, and they're like spinning, and you can just attack them while they're spinning in the air. I'm discovering that, like, because you have these blades, which are, human. They're not human, but they're like living weapons. You don't use them to fight, but they stand next to you while you fight, and they kind of lend you their energy while you're fighting. So you can equip up to 3 blades at a time. And I'm discovering now that depending on which blades you can have one that has break, one that has topple, and one that has launch. So you can do all 3 steps if you want. You can switch between them and just like lay waste to the enemies pretty quickly that way. It's pretty cool. But yeah, lots of different side quests and stuff. There's even these like what they call mercenary missions, where even while you're doing side quests yourself, you can send some of your blades off to do a different quest, and then they come back after a while, and there's a timer on it, and then you get more XP that way. So that's pretty cool too. So lots of cool stuff going on in the game. I've been playing a lot in both on the TV and in handheld mode. It runs great either way, but like I think I said this before, there is a very noticeable difference between when you're playing in handheld mode. Graphics look a little bit more jaggy, but it's still totally playable. I mean, I'm still really enjoying it either way. But yeah, it's great. I definitely recommend it if you haven't played it on Switch. If you're looking for a really long RPG that's gonna, take up a lot of time and be really enjoyable. I also got Destiny 2 on the Xbox, so I've been playing that. We all know about Destiny 2, though. I'm not going to talk about it, but I've been working up a couple of characters and playing it on Xbox, and that's been pretty fun.
Okay.
So that's pretty much all I've been up to.
I want to run back to Xenoblades real quick. You mentioned that, you're 50 hours in now. Now, early on, I played like the first area, and then I took off on the mission. That's the last I played of it. The combat, you bring in the blades. Is it overwhelming at first, and then do you kind of adjust to it, or do you still feel like 50 hours in, it's just like, oh my gosh, there's more to this than I even thought? Like, is it tough to get into the combat, or do you just kind of get into it over time?
The game is very good about teaching you things. It's very gradual. It just introduces you little bits here and there as you go. So I mean, when you first start, it's the combat. Like I said, it seems very simple at first because your character's auto attack. So you think you're just like, oh, I'll just sit here and let them battle. But no, you've got these powers that you equip, or like different abilities, and you press them with good timing right when an auto attack lands, and you get more damage, and you perform these different abilities. There's also certain attacks that work better from the side or better from behind. So you have to circle around the enemy and attack from different areas. There's blade combos where like you start an attack, then some of your teammates might do a different attack, and then you kind of work off each other and press. There's button prompts you have to press at the right time to do special attacks and stuff. So it's not overwhelming. The game is, like I said, it's very good about gradually introducing new elements to the combat system. So as you go, you're just gonna keep learning new stuff. Even like I said, 40 or 50 hours in, you're still learning new stuff as you go. So it's really good. I like the way it does it. It's very manageable. And you can go as deep as you want. If you want to just let them auto attack the whole time, it's going to be a little bit harder, but you can probably get by. If you have trouble with an enemy, anytime I've faced a major boss or something, there's always a fast travel point right there. So if I can't beat it right then, I can go off, do some side quests, level my characters up, and then come back and try it again, just fast travel to that point.
Oh, good.
yeah, that makes it super easy. They're really good about that. I think they even patched, like I think before I talked about how some of the waypoints are a little difficult. They still are sometimes, but I think they patched it to where they make them a little bit easier to find your objectives. So so that's been good. I haven't had too much trouble finding where I'm supposed to go most of the time. And there's usually a point on the map. You can look at the map and see where you're supposed to go and fast travel to it or just walk up to it. So yeah, it's not overwhelming at all. It's very manageable and really fun the way they do everything. And you know, the characters are cool. Like I said, I've enjoyed the story and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a really good game.
Cool. That's good to hear. In terms of myself, I played through Inner Space, which I'll have a review up on the site. We'll talk about it here on the new releases in a moment, but Inner Space comes out this week on PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and Switch, PC. I think it's pretty much all the major platforms. And it's an exploration game, similar in the vein of like Journey or Abzu. It's got a nice soundtrack. There's a lot of different way to a lot of exploration involved in this game. And one of the highlights that I'll talk about in the review is just the map design of each of the areas that you're going to explore. There's a lot of stuff hidden throughout the areas that you have to find in order to progress the story, to find certain stuff. And if you want to get the platinum trophy, which I got, yeah, buddy. Nice. Yeah, you can expect my review this week. But it's a beautiful looking game. There's some things that it took me a while to get my head around. But for the most part, I enjoyed my time with it. So you can expect my review up this week. And then the other game I played I've been playing quite a bit of is Hand of Fate 2, which is a game I really didn't realize this thing was out or even what it was. I mean, I know we probably covered it on a podcast. It came out in the middle of like November, or like November 7th, I believe it was. So obviously it's coming out at the worst time of year with all the major AAA games coming out. And this is a game that completely slipped under my radar. And I started playing it recently, and that's actually a pretty fun game, dude. I don't know if you guys saw, but I actually streamed it the other night. It's on our YouTube channel right now. I streamed it for about an hour and a half. And it's like a mixture of a tabletop game where you have like cards and dice. There's a good story that you're playing through. This character named the Dealer kind of like works you through each of his challenges. And as you're playing through these challenges, like I said, there's times where there's a lot of story. There's a lot of reading and stuff, but there's card games that you have to do that'll kind of like, it'll say, or for example, we'll start with rolling dice. It'll say, do you want to help this person? And you say yes, and then it'll say roll the dice. And if you hit the certain score, you help them out. If you don't hit the score, something bad usually happens, like it's a trick or an ambush when you try to help the person. And then there's also a card game where you draw stuff. Sometimes it'll say success. Other times it'll say failure or huge failure. And my luck, I mean, I streamed it on the wrong night. The night before when I was playing it, I seriously drew huge failure every single time. And I was like, man, my bad luck is coming into play tonight. But then as you're going through the challenge, you set up a scenario. It actually throws you into the game, and you're playing like an action RPG with like Batman combat. It'll draw cards like you're fighting 4 Frost guys and a Berserker. And there's different enemy types. All of them have different abilities. Some are more nimble. They can avoid heavy weapons, so you got to make sure you have like quick daggers or something like that to combat them. It's just a very deep game, and it's a lot more enjoyable than I thought it was. Like I said, this thing completely went under my radar, and I'm really enjoying my time with it. There's 22 challenges. There's a lot of trophies, and the combat feels really good. There's a parry system and all this shit. It's a very well done game. I'm really enjoying it, and it's only $30. It's available on PS4, Xbox One, PC. I totally recommend giving it a look. If you're not sure about it, go over to our YouTube channel, Short Pause Gaming. I've got a Let's Play up on our channel for, like I said, about an hour and a half, playing through the game, and it's a lot of fun. I don't know if you guys get a chance to see this game, or if boys, I think you mentioned you have Hand of Fate 1 from a couple years back, but I recommend giving this game a look, you guys. It's actually really, really fun. So, but that's what we've been playing this week. Mr. Boyce, let's get to these new releases, buddy.
Let's get to it. So, Brent, earlier in the show, I mentioned how the first couple weeks of the year, it's kind of the gaming world kind of coming back from the holidays and getting back into the swing of things. So this week, we're officially back in the swing of things now. Like, this is when the game releases really start to ramp back up a couple weeks into the year, starting with, January 16th on Tuesday. Like, once we hit January 16th, like, this is it, man. The lull's over. We're hitting the ground running, and for the next 11, 12 months, we can expect video games each and every week, and probably a bunch of them. So let's hop to it. Couple things that we missed last week that we want to point out. So this Ghostbusters PSVR game, this episodic Ghostbusters game, which kind of snuck out when it initially came out. The second episode snuck out this past week. So it's called Ghostbusters is Hiring. The second episode is called Showdown, and I believe these are like $5 or $6 a piece. I haven't heard anything about this game, so I'm hoping Frankie picks this up at some point. I know he's a huge Ghostbusters fan. Have you heard anything about this, Brent, at all? I'm actually really curious about this game.
I'm a huge Ghostbuster fan, and the one thing I know about Ghostbusters is usually marketing behind Ghostbusters games or movies or anything Ghostbusters is usually through the roof, so you know it's coming. The fact that we have seen nothing in terms of marketing for this is a huge red flag to me. Huge red flag. And until I hear from somebody I trust that they say this is worth my time, I'm avoiding this at all costs. There's no way a Ghostbuster property should come out without any hype or any marketing behind it, unless it's a total disaster.
Yeah, I mean that's what's got me worried about it as well. But but I have heard zero feedback on this game at all. So if you've played Ghostbusters is Hiring, let us know. So until Frankie experiences that or breaks down, and I think he actually might have bought the first episode. I don't know. But yeah, until he experiences that, we're kind of in the dark about Ghostbusters is Hiring, but no less curious about the game as we sit here today. So other things we missed last week, Pinball Arcade got its Season 7 Season Pass came out. So if you're a Pinball Arcade fan, pick that up. Bunch of Arcade Archives games. So Frontline, Arcade Archives Frontline hit the PS4 this past week. Arcade Archives Neo Geo, Top Hunter, Roddy and Kathy. Just kind of a side-scrolling beat 'em up. That's on PS4 now. Arcade Archives Neo Geo, Real Bout Fatal Fury Special. The classic fighting game is on PS4 now. N++ got its Ultimate Edition update, and this update essentially doubled the amount of levels in this game. N++ now has over 4,000 levels in its package now. So you are in no danger of running out of N++ levels to play. So if you're a fan of that game, get in there and check out that update. Rally Racers is available on the Switch now. Arcade Archives Neo Geo, Art of Fighting 2. We saw this on the Nintendo Direct Mini this past week. They mentioned that it was coming out. That came out on the Switch this past Thursday. Arcade Archives Neo Geo, The King of Fighters 98 is available on the Xbox One now. So Arcade Archives spanning all the platforms with multiple releases here. Dragon Quest Builders got its Switch demo. It's available now. The game that was very well received on the PS4 and Xbox. I imagine it's probably pretty good on the Switch as well. And January's PlayStation Now games have been announced and are available now. Actually, a nice list of games in here. So, for the PS4, Until Dawn, Gravity Rush Remastered, Everybody's Gone to the Rapture, Alien Nation, Knack, Fat Princess Adventures, Shadow of the Beast, Escape Plan, Hardware Rivals, and Pixel Junk Shooter Ultimate are now included in your PlayStation Now subscription. In addition to that, a couple PS3 games have now been upgraded to the PS4 versions in PS Now as well. So Beyond Two Souls, Heavy Rain, Super Stardust Ultra, Ho Hokum, Entwined, and Counter Spy are all available for the PS4 now as well in PlayStation Now. So if you're doing the math, over 600 games are now part of PlayStation Now, with more and more PS4 games we're starting to see every month now as we kind of move on in the PS4 life here. So I think you can expect that to be a big part of PlayStation Now moving forward. The $9.99 first month offer is still available, and the $99.99 12-month subscription option still available now as well. Those will be going until February 6th. So if you're interested in either of those, make sure that you hop on those sooner rather than later. All right, let's get on to the stuff that's releasing this week. Couple of titles in the spotlight this week, led of course by Street Fighter V Arcade Edition. So this will be out Tuesday, January 16th. Now, we've talked about this on the show for the last few months. Street Fighter V Arcade Edition is not a new game. It's not a new Street Fighter game. It is the Street Fighter V that we know and love, but it's now being upgraded to the Arcade Edition. So this is kind of a chance for the game to re-release into retail. So Arcade Edition will be available on Tuesday in retail stores. I believe it's $39.99. It includes all of the characters from the first two seasons of the game, as well as all of the crazy upgrades and things that they've done to this game. So Street Fighter V when it originally came out, it was criticized for its kind of bare bones package. This is not a bare bones package anymore. There's a lot in Street Fighter V. So with the arcade edition, we're not only getting, like I said, everything from season 1 and 2, but there's a season 3 character pass that's available now. And Sakura, which is the first character in that pass, will be available for free from January 16th to the 23rd. So for the first week of the game, you'll be able to try her out, play her for free. Any XP and fight money that you gain with Sakura will be lost after the end of the free trial until you decide to pick up Sakura or get the Season 3 character pass. All that will be waiting there for you if you do decide to move forward with that content in the future. You'll also get some costumes for buying the pass as well. Arcade mode is obviously in the name of the game, and something I'm really excited about with Street Fighter V. So in the arcade mode of Street Fighter V, this is from the PlayStation blog. So it says, we've created an experience that invites players to relive all 30 years of Street Fighter history. You'll choose between 6 different paths that each represent a main title in the series. Each path remains true to its respective title, containing the relevant characters, costumes, and music in order to further celebrate Street Fighter's 30th anniversary. If you're connected to the internet, your arcade score will be uploaded to monthly leaderboards where the top player will receive a unique title, so make sure to practice. There are over 200 beautiful ending illustrations from various artists, which can be collected in arcade mode by fulfilling certain requirements. So I love this idea, but apparently each character in the game is going to have like 6 different kind of story modes that you can tackle. There's 6 different versions of the arcade tree that you can go, and they're all tailored to the different games in the series. So Street Fighter 2, Street Fighter Alpha, Street Fighter 3, like you can follow the path of the character through the different storylines in Street Fighter over the years. I think that's an awesome way to celebrate the characters and to celebrate the game. So there's going to be a ton of stuff to unlock and see in this arcade mode. Really excited about that. Extra battle mode is a new mode that's being released as well, which has like specific challenges for characters. It looks like you're gonna be able to unlock really cool costumes. Like there's a costume for Beautiful Joe for one of the characters in the game. There's a Captain Commando costume for Nash. So there's like costumes from throughout Capcom's history that you'll be able to access. Team battle mode is available. Will be available with the arcade edition as well, and a whole new set of V triggers being added to the game. So V triggers are kind of the match-changing abilities that each of these characters have. They now have an additional one to choose from, so that's going to up the strategy with Street Fighter V even further. So if you have the digital version of Street Fighter V, all you got to do is just update the game. The servers will obviously go down early on January 16th to update the game and get it up to where it needs to be. If you buy the disc version of the game, you'll bring the disc home, and then you'll have to, I think, download the some of the patches and the extra content for the game. But really excited about Street Fighter V Arcade Edition. And this hasn't changed over the last 2 years. Street Fighter V has always been an immaculate fighting experience. It's the best of the best when it comes to fighting games. So the fact that they have this full featured package and they can re-release this to the masses now, I hope people get really excited about this if they're fighting fans. The Street Fighter V is like I said, is an exceptional fighting game, and the fact that where it's at now, compared to when it initially came out, is really impressive. So if you ignored Street Fighter V when it came out, or you bought into all the hype and the negativity surrounding the game when it first came out, give this game a shot now. If you're at all a fighting game fan, you will not be disappointed. It's just it's a hell of a fighting experience, and it finally has the package that it deserves to go alongside of it. So I know you guys aren't huge fighting fans, so we'll move on from Street Fighter V. I won't wax any more poetic about it. A couple other games we want to spotlight this week. So Albert and Otto is coming to PS4 this week on Tuesday, and this is probably the game we'll feature on the Indie Spotlight. Just wanted to give a heads up on this. This came out a couple days ago on the Xbox, from what I understand. It's a interesting puzzle, kind of two-dimensional puzzle platformer kind of game. It looks like maybe it takes some inspiration from Limbo or games of that ilk. So I'm interested to try this one out. Don't know a whole lot about it. Looks like it has an interesting art style, and I don't know. Brent, what do you think, man? Does this sound like a worthy game for the spotlight this week?
Yes, it does. And after watching the trailer, this game is heavily inspired by Limbo. Some of the deaths that the main character seems to go through, they showcase a lot of the deaths in there, and it looks pretty gruesome. Yeah. Much like the ones in Limbo. So yeah, I'm expecting a Limbo type experience here.
Definitely. What about you, Bender? Have you seen this game at all? Any interest in Albert Donato?
I've never heard of it, but I'm looking at some screenshots and definitely looks Limbo-esque with the kind of the dreary black and white like silhouette art style. But yeah, it looks really interesting. It looks like my type of game.
Yeah, definitely. So if all goes according to plan, we'll feature this one on the spotlight this week. If for some reason we don't, there's plenty of other stuff that we can choose from this week. But right now, Albert Donato is looking like the game that we'll feature on the spotlight. So that's 10 p.m. Eastern on our YouTube channel. I'll be there with Brent, and then we'll be playing through that and chat with you guys. So come on over and hang out with us. Also this week, Full Metal Furies is a Wednesday release on Xbox One. Now, this is from Cellar Door Games. And if you remember Cellar Door Games, they made a little game called Rogue Legacy, which is a game I absolutely loved. I love Rogue Legacy. What an excellent, excellent game. And Full Metal Furies is their next game, and this game looks rad. So this is basically like a, I don't know, it's kind of like a juiced up beat 'em up. So it's like a side-scrolling beat 'em up. It's a co-op game, but it has like action RPG elements to it as well. So there's looks like an incredible amount of depth. The art style in this game is awesome. Looks like it's gonna have some great boss battles, some great co-op gameplay. Bender, how about you, man? Have you seen Full Metal Fury? Did you ever play Rogue Legacy?
I did, yeah. Rogue
Okay.
Legacy seemed pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'm still not a big fan of roguelikes, but it did seem, as far as roguelikes go, it seemed like one of the good ones. But I watched the trailer for Full Metal Furies. It looks really cool. I like the pixel art style. I like that it's co-op. 4-player co-op games are always a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Well, most of the time they're a lot of fun. Not all of them are, but this one looks really interesting. I like that there's different classes you can play as, and looks really, really fast-paced and intense.
Yeah. One of the things I really loved about Rogue Legacy, and you mentioned it there with the roguelike games. Some of them are tough to get into because you're constantly losing progress and going back to the beginning. But the thing that Rogue Legacy does, and the thing that really made me love that game, and it's the thing that I want like out of all the roguelike games that I play now. But every time you died in Rogue Legacy, like you came back to the skill tree and you spent your money and you constantly upgraded your character. And the skill tree in that game was epic. Like it was really good. There was tons of stuff. You were always building your character. By the time I got to the end of that game, I felt really, really powerful. I had unlocked all the different areas of the castle. There's actually a cool mechanic too as you get further in the game, but you can actually pay the Grim Reaper who kind of guards the entrance to the castle. But you can pay him to lock in the previous version of the castle that you had. So if you died and you wanted to go back and all your progress have been saved, like you could pay the Grim Reaper off and he would save all that stuff for you, so you could go back in and kind of pick up where you left off. So they did some really cool stuff with the roguelike genre. So I'm a Cellar Door fan for life after that game. It's still one of my favorite games this generation that I've played probably. So really, really excited for Full Metal Furies, Brent.
Yeah, this game looks awesome, and I'm just gonna pitch it to you right now, dude. Yes, the Tuesday night indie spotlight is Tuesday night, but I'm feeling a co-op stream on Wednesday, dude. If you're down for it, I'll pick it up because that looks really, really, really good.
I'm definitely down for it. I'm a huge fan, like I said, of this developer. So would love to jump into their new game, see what it's all about. So I'll definitely take you up on that, man.
Ooh, all right.
So Full Metal Furies, we'll probably have some kind of a stream for that too. So look out for that on Wednesday. Final game that we want to spotlight this week: Kirby Battle Royale, hitting the 3DS on Friday, January 19th. So Bender, this is a very different kind of Kirby game, right? This is a kind of an arena battler. There's a full on single player story mode in the game, from what I understand. It also has cooperative elements. I believe there's a versus mode as well as some more cooperative play in this game. What are your thoughts on Battle Royale, man? Is this of any interest to you? I know you're a Kirby fan. You've played some of his more traditional games in the past. Any interest in this style of Kirby game?
Not really.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a traditional Kirby game, and it's on the 3DS. So, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not looking to pick up the 3DS for too many games. I mean, I did for Metroid, and if there's something really awesome that comes out on it, I'll pick it up again. But
Yeah.
For Kirby Battle Royale, it's not really speaking to me.
Yeah. No, I hear you, man. Yeah, it's probably going to be a tough sell for a lot of people just because it is such a different kind of Kirby game. There's a demo for Battle Royale on the 3DS eShop right now. So if you're at all curious about Battle Royale, definitely get on there and check it out. But if you do play it, man, I'd definitely be curious to hear your thoughts on it, just because it does look like such a different kind of Kirby game. All right, so moving on from there, let's get into the rest of the releases for this week. So on Monday, we have a Monday release this week. Gunhouse coming to the Switch. Interesting looking mix of like a puzzler and a tower defense game. Really like the art style in this game. It's one I'm gonna have to keep my eye on. On Tuesday, Rocket League Collector's Edition hits retail for the Switch. Beholder Complete Edition hits the PS4. Interesting looking puzzle game about the cameras and spying and whatnot. Kingdom New Lands, which I think looks really cool. I've had my eye on Kingdom for a really long time. Hits the PS4 on Tuesday. This is another one I'm very, very interested in. I don't even know how to describe it. I guess it's a mix of like a tower defense game, like a survival game. It's a very interesting looking title with a cool pixel art style. Portal of Evil Stolen Ruins hits the PS4 this week in kind of a first person adventure game, or maybe like a Myst style adventure game would be more apropos for that. Kerbal Space Program Enhanced Edition comes to the PS4 and Xbox One on Tuesday. So this is the kind of the upgraded version of Kerbal. If you already own Kerbal, you'll get this edition for free. But if you haven't jumped in yet, you can jump into the Enhanced Edition. They've added some new control schemes, added a bunch of new stuff to the game. So get in there and check that out. Nightmare Boy, interesting looking action platformer on the Switch on Tuesday. Inner Space, Brent, you mentioned, coming to Switch, PS4, and Xbox One on Tuesday. So look out for your review. It'll when's that going live? Tuesday?
Yes, sir.
Goes live Tuesday for that game, so you get Brent's full thoughts on that. Mr. Platinum Trophy holder himself. Energy Balance hits the Switch. That's the puzzle game's been on a few other platforms on Tuesday. In 2064, Read Only Memories, that Cyberpunk visual novel, hits the Xbox One on Tuesday. A lot of people really dug that on Vita and PS4. It's one I still got to get into and play. On Wednesday, Star Drone hits PSVR. So this is a game that's been on the PS3 and the Vita in the past. I've never actually played it, but sounds like it's a mix of like an arcade shooter and like pinball and a couple different genres in here. So that seems like that'd be a really interesting one in VR. On Thursday, Darkest Dungeon hits the Switch finally. So obviously, Brent, you've spoken highly of that one in the past. I still haven't played it, but seems like a perfect match for the Switch. World to the West also hits the Switch. This is that 3D like action adventure game it's been on a variety of other platforms. Oh Sir, the Insult Simulator, and Oh Sir, the Hollywood Roast, both hitting the Switch on Thursday. Link-A-Pix Color hits the 3DS. Monster Hunter, the next and final open beta, hits the PS4 this week on Thursday. And then Metal Gear Survive also hits beta on Thursday, January 18th. And I don't know, Brent, I have a morbid curiosity about this game. We may have to find time to try and give this one a whirl, man, just to kind of satiate the curiosity about this. IGN actually put up 5 minutes of gameplay this week. They had kind of an exclusive gameplay trailer for the game go up, and I don't know, man. It could be a train wreck. It could be somehow be cool. I don't know, but I'm definitely curious to at least give it a whirl and see what it's all about. So yeah, Thursday that'll start. That runs January 18th through the 21st. On Friday, Vesta hits the Switch, PS4, and Xbox One. Nuclean, interesting looking puzzle game, hits the Switch on the 19th. One that involves like numbers and looks really, really cool. Digimon Story Cyber Sleuth Hacker's Memory hits the PS4, the next in the Digimon saga. Heard a lot of good things about Cyber Sleuth. Should probably check those games out at some point. Rento Fortune looks like a bootleg version of Monopoly, so that's on PS4 on Friday. The Vanishing of Ethan Carter hits the Xbox One on Friday. Obviously, the well-received adventure game from a little while back on PS4 and PC. The Aquatic Adventure of the Last Human hits the Xbox One on Friday. This is an underwater like exploration game, action game, I guess, 2D action game. Beholder Complete Edition hits the Xbox One on Friday, and Mutant League Football hits its 1.0 version on Friday for the Xbox One. Now, the only Mutant League Football I know is the one from Sega Genesis. I absolutely loved Mutant League Football, and the ability to like take an explosive football and throw it at a ref when you made a call that you didn't like was awesome. Yeah, I loved Mutant League Football on the Genesis. If this is, I haven't heard anything about this. I didn't even realize this was in-game preview on the Xbox One. But if Mutant League Football on the Xbox One is anything like Mutant League Football on the Sega Genesis, like I need to play this game, man.
Dude, I actually watched a trailer for this.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I saw a trailer earlier this week, and I was like, dude, I might have to pick this up. I mean, it's everything you loved about that game. I love that game as well back in the day, and the field is full of hazards. There's actually a season mode. There's online play. There's a lot in this package, and it seriously looked like Mutant League, that we know and love back in the day. It looks hilarious. It looks like a lot of fun, ultra violent, but I mean, that's just the way it's always been. It's always been like football meets Mad Max. It's just there's so many hazards out on the football field in this trailer. It was hilarious.
Are we gonna have to start a short pause Mutant League beer league for Mutant League Football?
I don't know about that. I mean, I'll be there for the beer, but yeah.
Yeah, but that's it, man. It's the end of the new release list.
Awesome. Great. Well, let's hop right into the news. Bender, perk up. Let's talk some Nintendo. Nintendo held a Nintendo Direct Mini this week, which I wasn't. We knew that something was coming. I wasn't expecting this Direct Mini thing. Now, Bender, you mentioned that this has actually happened before. I had never heard of a Direct Mini. Boy, this thing was just like, hey, here's our video, watch it. It was just 14 minutes of trailers. And I guess I was okay with that. It was pretty nice. It was just easy to watch, and it was available right away. So let's go through what we saw on this Nintendo Direct Mini. We got a lot of ports and remasters. And this triggered some people on Twitter and social media. People are like, why are we getting all these remasters? And, we have to remember the Wii U was not a huge success in terms of sales. But as Bender has mentioned before, and Frankie as well, there have been a lot of great games on the Wii U. Games that might have not reached a larger enough audience to be appreciated. The Switch has turned the tides. It is now a juggernaut of a system. Why not bring some of these great games out to a bigger audience to have kind of give them the exposure they deserve? And so that's what that's what we saw from this mini direct. We saw a lot of ports and remasters. And first, we're going to start with The World Ends With You. Final Remix is coming to the Nintendo Switch this year. The RPG originally released by Square Enix for the DS is coming to Switch in 2018. The announcement of The World Ends With You Final Remix was made during this mini, which had also confirmed that a sizable new scenario is being added to the title. In addition to the new content, Remix will be playable using touchscreen or with traditional controls. The original title allowed players to use a mixture of both to manage action across both the screens of the DS. The World Ends With You was produced by Tetsuya Nomura, who is well known for his work on the Final Fantasy series. Bender, any interest in The World Ends With You?
Yeah, I am interested in this game. I remember when it came out on the DS, but I never actually played it.
Mm-hmm.
But I always was intrigued by the art style and everything. It seemed like a very fast-paced type of action RPG from what I've seen in trailers and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, never actually got a chance to jump in and play it. So this might be something I'll want to pick up and finally get a chance to experience this game. I've heard good things about it.
Mm-hmm. Boys, where do you stand on this one, man?
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as Bender. A lot of people really love The World Ends With You. Heard a lot of good things about it over the years. I've never played it myself either. This was a regular DS game, right, Bender?
Mm-hmm.
Original DS. I might even have this game. It
Mm-hmm.
might be in my room over there. But yeah, I've never played it, so I think it's cool that it's gonna get a second lease on life on the Switch. And I don't know, personally for me, man, I've always been a fan of like remasters and bringing stuff into the current gen and making stuff more playable for people that may have missed it in the past.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see the negatives for that. It's a win for the developers and publishers. They're able to kind of quickly turn around a game and get it out to a larger audience, and it's a win for gamers to get their hands on something either they loved in the past and they can play it again now on a current system that they currently play, or somebody that's never experienced something like The World Ends With You, they can get it and they can play it on the new Switch that they're playing all the time. So I personally don't see what people are upset about with remasters. I mean, I understand. It's one thing to kind of pull stuff, maybe from earlier in the generation or something that maybe came out a couple years ago. I get that. But The World Ends With You hasn't been out since 2007, you said? So it's been 10 years for this game, and not a lot of people played it when it originally came out. So this is a game that I think makes a whole lot of sense to bring on the Switch, and I'm excited to see it.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. This next game, Bender, I know you're hyped for because it's more Zelda, baby. And Hyrule Warriors, the definitive edition, it was announced for the Switch and it arrives this spring. This is this originally dropped on the Wii U. It's a hack and slash Hyrule Warriors game. The re-release is slated to arrive on Switch sometime this spring. As its name implies, this version is the complete edition of the game. It comes with all the maps, missions, characters, and DLC from both the original Wii U release and the expanded 3DS version, including Yuga and Ravio from A Link Between Worlds. It also includes some new content in the form of Breath of the Wild themed costumes for Link and Zelda. Like the original game, Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition supports 2-player local multiplayer on a single console. Bender, day one, Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition?
No, probably not. I'm not as hyped as you might think for this one. I did play Hyrule Warriors a little bit on the Wii U, and it's cool and all. It's just not really for me. I mean, it's just a bunch of button mashing for the most part. That's kind of how I felt.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't seem super challenging. It's kind of one of those games that you just kind of sit there. If you don't want to think a whole lot, you just play this game. So I mean, it was fine, but I just didn't see myself putting too many hours into it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm probably not going to bother picking this up on the Switch.
Yeah. Boyce, you picking it up day one?
I don't know, man. Like I bought that Fire Emblem Warriors game, which is
Mm-hmm.
basically the same thing as this, just with Fire Emblem characters. It's so I don't know how many of these games I need. I probably won't get too much time in with them. This is probably one of the games that people were when they were upset about ports and remasters. This is probably one of the ones like, dude, you've already got this twice. It just came out not that long ago. But like you guys said, a lot of people didn't own the Wii U. A lot of people own the 3DS, but a lot of people don't own the Wii U, which is where a lot of people would want to experience this game. So I think it's probably good that it's coming over to the Switch, but yeah, not super interested in this one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but 3DS version didn't run very well from what I understand as well. So it'll be nice for people who like these types of games who want to play it on the go. I mean, this will be good for them to have on the Switch, but I've just never been super interested in these types of games.
Yeah.
Okay. Moving along, this next game, Ease 8, Lacrimosa of Dana, is coming to the Switch this summer. That's all we really have on this game. I mean, are you guys familiar with this franchise at all?
I'm not. I've heard of it, but I've never played one.
Yeah, it's a long-running action RPG franchise. I've never actually played an Ease game either. Several of these have been coming out in recent years for a variety of platforms. So this is the newest one. It actually looked really cool in the trailer. I mean, it looked like a fine action RPG.
Mm-hmm.
So it's got an anime art style about it. So if that stuff appeals to you, this is probably something that you check out. But obviously, Ease is doing something right. It's eight entries in. So somebody likes this game because they keep making them. So but yeah, I've always heard good things about this. The action is always lauded from these kind of games. So so I think this is a good get for the Switch for this summer. And listening to you pronounce that game was awesome. I thought maybe you might have just swapped the title out. I was expecting you to just call it like The Adventures of Bill and Ted or something like that.
It kind of scared me when I looked at it.
Yeah.
All right, now a game that I can pronounce, Payday 2, comes to the Nintendo Switch on February 27th, and it includes a timed exclusive character. The character's name is Joy, who is described as a computer whiz that specializes in heists. Also included in the event was the confirmation that an online multiplayer mode will be included in the Switch version of Payday 2, which is good because it'd be terrible just playing that game alone by yourself because the AI is literally useless. Joy was described as being a timed exclusive for the Switch, so the character will eventually show up in Payday 2 on other platforms. It will feature a new interface and touchscreen support on the platform. I'm actually kind of curious in this, just because I really do enjoy Payday 2, but here's the thing with that. If I'm playing on the go, I'm gonna need an internet connection to actually play this cooperatively. And like I said, I don't like playing this game solo. I don't like it at all. Because if it's the same as the PS4 and the Xbox One versions, the AI is utterly useless, and it just drags out the missions a lot longer than they need to be. So, this is cool. Payday 2 is a really fun game, but if I'm going to be playing it in dock mode, I would just rather play it on a PS4 or the Xbox One. I already own the game there. Why would I pick it up on the Switch? I don't know how you guys feel about that. Bender, any interest in Payday 2?
I don't know. I'm not super familiar with the franchise. I've heard of it, but like you said, it does seem like something that you would need to, it'd be more fun to play online with friends and communicate and all that stuff. And that's not the Switch's strong suit, really.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if I would want to pick it up on the Switch, or if I was to pick it up, I would probably opt for Xbox or PS4. But Joy looked cool. I liked her mask. It was like LED lights and stuff. That was pretty cool.
Indeed. Bender, boys, how about you?
Yeah, Joy did have a badass mask. That's for sure. But yeah, I have zero interest in this game on the Switch for all the reasons that you guys just talked about there. I already have this game on the PS4, so no interest in getting this on Switch.
Mm-hmm. Now, one of the Wii U games that I'm actually kind of excited about that'll be coming to the Switch is Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. This will be arriving on May 4th, and Funky Kong is coming with it as well as a playable character. The platformer that launched exclusively to the Wii U in 2014 is coming to the Switch on May 4th. It will include a new mode. The entire game will be playable in local co-op with one Joy-Con each. Though further details are scarce for the new game right now, we do know, however, that the new mode will star Funky Kong. Who is Funky Kong?
This is the one with the sunglasses and the surfboard. He was on the original Donkey Kong Country. Like he would be the one that you would get on his plane and fly to different. He was like the fast travel guy,
right?
And he's been in like Mario Kart and other stuff. But it seems like Funky Kong is going to be like easy mode basically, because he can like spin in the air unlimited, and he can like use his surfboard to like go across spikes and stuff. So
right,
the game it's good that they're including that, because the game is incredibly difficult. So both of the Donkey Kong Country games that Retro did were really difficult to play, especially later in the later levels. So it's cool that they're doing that and putting out an easy mode and bringing it to the Switch. I'm excited about it too, because I had this game on Wii U, but I never really played it that much. I played a few levels, but I never beat it or anything. So I might pick this one up so I can actually play through it this time.
I'm in the same boat as you. I actually had this game. I picked it up once. I can't remember if it was on sale or something like that, but I grabbed it. I was like, oh man, I like Donkey Kong. I want to check this out. And I think I played it for a little bit, maybe. I'm trying to remember correctly, but I might not have played it at all. But no, this game looks really, really cool. I'm glad this is coming to the Switch. This is, again, one of those really good games that not a lot of people got to try out with the Wii U. So coming to a much wider audience, I expect this game to do a little bit better. Boys, where are you at on Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze?
Yeah, I thought this was an awesome announcement. Donkey Kong Country, that trilogy on the Super Nintendo, some of my favorite games of all time. I actually missed the retro Donkey Kong games. Didn't play it on the Wii. Just didn't spend a lot of time with the Wii. Didn't have a Wii U, so I didn't play Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze on there. So I'm excited that it's coming over. I wish they would have grabbed the one from the Wii too and brought that one over. I would have liked to have been able to play that one as well, maybe in the future. But yeah, I've heard all that stuff about this game, about that it's really difficult, but it's also a really good platformer. Yeah, Funky Kong just looks like there's like easy mode, and then there's like Sonic the Hedgehog. Like Funky Kong literally looks like he just runs through the level, just bounces on the spikes, rolls to the enemies. He almost looks like it's just like he's playing through a Sonic level, which is really strange. So yeah, I definitely would not play this game as Funky Kong. But yeah, this is once again like I mentioned. This is why having like remasters and bringing this stuff over to your current system is cool. Like I never had a Wii U. Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze is something I always wanted to play. So being able to have that on the Switch now is really exciting, and I feel like this is definitely gonna have to be something that's played with the Pro controller.
Oh yeah.
would like a D-pad for these kind of games. So yeah, I'll be excited to grab this on May 4th.
Yeah, so I'm just looking at my Switch. My Joy-Cons have a D-pad. There's buttons for a D-pad, so you can play it in handheld mode.
Nah, I'm not messing with that.
And then we also got some game updates. First up, another update is coming to Super Mario Odyssey, and you'll be getting Luigi's Balloon World update, bringing online competition to the game. Also includes new outfits and snapshot filters. Super Mario Odyssey is receiving a free update in February with new items and opportunities to compete with other players online. Once the update is released, players who have completed the story mode can look forward to a new mode called Balloon World. This area can be entered by talking to Luigi atop a skyscraper in New Donk City. Balloon World lets you hide balloons within stages that other players must race to find, and conversely, you can compete while racing to find other balloons hidden by players from across the globe. Everyone's performances are ranked online. The update will also include 3 new costumes: a Super Mario Sunshine-themed shirt and glasses, a musician costume, and a full set of knight armor. Lastly, new snapshot filters for the photo mode will also come with the update, including one that lets you create your own gold-tinted Mario coin pick. So, let's go back to Luigi's Balloon World, whatever this is. Mr. Boyce, you've been playing a lot of Mario Odyssey. Bender, you played through it all. What's your guys' stance on Balloon World? What's your take on this?
I don't know. It didn't look all that exciting to me. I mean, I suppose there's probably a little bit of fun to be had there, hiding balloons and finding them. But I don't know. I wasn't blown away as something that I just have to play. Once this update comes out. So it's probably a fun distraction for a few matches. But I don't know that this thing's gonna have any kind of legs.
All right, let's go from Buzz Killington to Bender. What do you think, Bender?
It looked okay. It might be something that's fun to people who are into like speed running and stuff, like trying to get somewhere quickly across the map and to hide the balloon or to find stuff. It's not really what I expected from Mario DLC. I was hoping they would come out with some DLC, but I was expecting it to be like extra worlds that you can go to. Like they come out with a couple new kingdoms, which hopefully they still will. That would be fun, some new kingdoms with a bunch of new moons to find. I think that'd be really cool. But at least they're adding to the game, I guess. It's not what I expected, but it's fine.
Poor Luigi. Just
I know, right?
Just relegated to a balloon mini game in New Donk City. That's it's a tough break for him, man.
He just seriously sits atop a skyscraper and hopes you show up to play.
Yeah,
that's wow.
You can put on Luigi's clothes as Mario, but you can't play as Luigi.
Man, Luigi just sucks, I guess.
Luigi just catching that raw deal, man. He really needs to get back into Luigi's Mansion.
He really does.
I know, right?
Man, poor guy. All right, new Donkey Kong, a DLC announced for Mario Rabbids Kingdom Battle. This arrives this spring. The story expansion will include a new world and a new character for the Switch game, Donkey Kong. We don't know too much about the add-on as yet, but it will be included in the game's $20 season pass when it launches this spring, though you can also buy the new DLC separately. I don't know, based on what we saw in the trailer, it looks like Donkey Kong will be able... based on what we saw in the trailer, it looks like Donkey Kong can throw characters across the map. That's what we saw him do in the trailer. He picked up one of the rabbits and kind of threw him up to high grounds. I don't know if that's something that's kind of like giving you a hint of what his role will be like. But then he kind of got to see some of his abilities where he throws the banana around, and it had a super ability with that. But no, I'll be curious to see how Donkey Kong plays out. It's awesome they're bringing Donkey Kong into that game, though, boys.
Yeah, definitely. The trailer we saw was cinematic, so we didn't see, like you said, how Donkey Kong plays in the game. We're just kind of guessing. Maybe he throws characters, but yeah, that's gonna be cool though to get Donkey Kong actually like on your squad, and I'm sure they'll give him some cool abilities in that game.
Better.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's really cool that they're adding to that game. I wasn't expecting there to be, extra characters added to that game. That's a game I want to get back to, man. That game is really fun.
Mm-hmm.
I think I only got to like the second world and kind of started playing other stuff, but it's definitely one I want to get back to and finish. But because that game is really good.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's an awesome game. It's a fantastic game, and I think I'm 4 worlds in. I can't remember exactly where I'm at, but I've got a sizable chunk of it done, and it's a fun game. It's the strategy and the combat is really, really good. And again, those boss battles are nothing short of incredible. Absolutely love the boss battles in that game. So I'm with you. I got to get back into it. I got to get back into that ASAP. Mm-hmm. So you can expect Donkey Kong to show up this spring. Up next, Kirby Star Allies gets a new gameplay trailer and a release date. This will be coming to Nintendo Switch on March 16th. During this direct, they showed off friend abilities, which allow you to merge 2 copy abilities to create a new effect. Using water and ice together, for example, creates an icicle lance. The direct also showed off new copy abilities for Kirby, including Artist and Spider, and a 4-player co-op ability called the Friend Train, which allow all players to team up. Interesting. So, any interest, you guys, in Kirby Star Allies?
This one I am interested in because it plays more like a traditional Kirby game.
Mm-hmm.
I think it could be fun to play Kirby in co-op, and I like what they showed with the new abilities and everything. The artist ability looks cool, where he like paints an enemy and it like walks out and attacks other guys and stuff. Looks really interesting. And the spider ability where he could like wrap people up in webs, stuff like that. So yeah, I think this game could be pretty fun. So I'm actually looking forward to checking it out.
Boys?
You know, I've never actually played a Kirby game. Obviously, I've seen Kirby. He's been everywhere for decades. But I've never actually picked up one of his traditional games and played it. I think I've played some of his like offshoot games like Pinball Land and that kind of stuff. But I don't think I've ever actually sat down and played a traditional Kirby platformer. So I'd be interested to give it. So I'd be interested to give it a whirl though with Star Allies. I feel like because Kirby always came out like towards the end of a system's like generation. It's like he came out at the end of the Nintendo, but I was already playing Super Nintendo at that point. He came out towards the end of the Super Nintendo, but I'm not sure if I even was playing Super Nintendo anymore at that point. So he was like always at the tail end of things. I feel like I always just missed out on his games because I'd either moved on to the next generation or whatever may have happened. But yeah, so I'd definitely be curious to play Star Allies, especially like in co-op with you guys to see how that works. So yeah, I'm definitely curious to check it out.
Yeah, I played a couple Kirby games, not obviously not through to completion, but I played them enough where I get the gist of them, and I enjoyed like the more traditional versions. But just like any game, man, you throw co-op into it, and that piques my interest greatly. So, if you guys all pick this up eventually at some point, I'd be interested in checking it out because the co-op gameplay actually looks pretty fun, and so I'd be definitely curious to check that out cooperatively with you guys if you guys all do pick it up. And then we also got a Mario Tennis game announced. Mario Tennis Aces is coming to the Switch this spring. Aces will contain a new story mode. That makes it the first Mario Tennis game to include a campaign since 2005's Mario Tennis Power Tour. A few other details have been revealed so far. We got to see some gameplay it looked like, but though we do know that the game is being made by longtime Mario sports developer Camelot. Now, Ben, I know you're a fan of Mario Golf. Where do you stand on Mario Tennis?
I like Mario Tennis, not as much as Mario Golf. I do hope they come out with a Mario Golf game on the Switch because that would be awesome because I love that series. But the Mario Tennis games can be fun, even though I think the last one on Wii U was kind of a misstep because it was, very feature light from what I've understood. I never actually bought it because I heard it was getting bad reviews and stuff. I feel like they kind of learned from their mistakes on that one, and this one seems like they're going to be adding some more stuff. I do like that they added a story mode to this one because the game they mentioned that article was on the Game Boy Advance, the last Mario Tennis that had a story mode. I loved that game. That game was really cool because the story mode, you go to like a tennis university and you face off against different students and learn different tennis moves and stuff. It had the graphics looked kind of like a Pokemon game. It was like a top down, like little guys, and everything. So that game was a lot of fun. So if the story mode is similar to that, I think it could be really cool. So I do have an interest in this one. I might have to check it out.
Mm-hmm. Now, boys, I know you take the week off for Wimbledon. What's your thoughts on Mario Tennis?
Yeah, I'm actually a huge Mario Tennis fan. I really like tennis video games just in general. I think they're a lot of fun. Like Virtua Tennis on the Dreamcast was like an addiction when that game came out. So I love a good tennis game, and obviously Mario puts his little kind of fantasy spin on the sports games with tennis here. And yeah, I love what we saw from Aces. I love the idea of this like full on story mode campaign. Looks like you're fighting like bosses and that kind of stuff, and so it looks like looks like it's gonna be a fun time. So. Like Bender said, like Mario Tennis in recent years just been lambasted by people and just has not had a good run. But I remember Mario Tennis when it first came out. What was it, the 64? Is that one tennis?
64.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I really liked that game. I don't know what the last Mario Tennis game I played was, but very very interested to see this on the Switch. I thought Aces looked really good in the trailer.
If I'm not mistaken, that Mario Tennis was the first appearance of Waluigi. Was on the first Mario Tennis on Nintendo 64.
Yeah. Sounds right.
Well, the more you know.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. All right, a couple more things we want to touch on with what we saw from the Direct. First up, Celeste from the creator of Towerfall. That arrives on January 25th on the Nintendo Switch and PS4, and then also will drop on Xbox One January 26th. Faye releases on the Switch, PS4, Xbox One, and PC on February 16th. And then they closed out the Direct with something I don't know if anybody expected, but Dark Souls Remastered is coming to the Nintendo Switch, Xbox One, and PC and PS4 on May 25th. But this is coming to the Switch. Now, this is again, a big franchise, Dark Souls, and we're seeing the first one here coming to the Switch. And on the Switch, it'll run at 1080p 30 docked and 720p 30 handheld mode. Now, at first, I was actually pretty excited about this. Like, man, I don't think I spent any time with Dark Souls. I don't think I even touched Dark Souls when it came out. And I was like, well, that'd be cool to have it on the Switch to play it on the go. And then the news came out that it's also coming to PS4 and Xbox One. And on the Xbox One and PS4, Xbox One X and the PS4 Pro, this game will run at 4K 60. And I was just like, okay, I'm just lost all interest in the Switch version. Plus, I know if I remember correctly, when you're playing Dark Souls, isn't one of like the perks of it is that you see like the little hints and whatnot. You know, like be wary of this guy around the corner, or everything looks good. It could be it's a trap, but they're telling you everything looks good. That's all online focus. And again, taking the Switch on the go, you're kind of losing that element to the game, and I feel like that kind of take away from it a little bit. So you won't have that portion. But again, playing it in docked, even at 1080p 30, the fact that I have both an Xbox One X or a PS4 Pro to play this game on, I'm going to want to see the higher resolution and the higher frame rate.
Yeah, I'm in the exact same boat, man. Once again, it's cool to have something like this playable on the go, but to have when you see something like Dark Souls Remastered, which is like an early PS3 360 gen game, like when you see that brought over to this gen, like you want to see it at 60 frames now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you want to experience it. Like that's one of the whole points to me of remastering that game. Like we've already seen this in 30 frames. We've already been there, done that with this. Like we want to see it with the higher resolution, with the increased frame rate now. So that's what I'm excited about with Dark Souls Remastered. I've never played Dark Souls, so to be able to have this on the current gen platforms kind of gussied up and with the higher frame rate is really, really exciting. The other thing that they mentioned is what is it? Is it 6-player co-op now that they're doing with this? But I think you can have up to 6 players like tackle some of these enemies now. I think it was 4.
Really?
It was 4 in the original game, or either it was 2 and they moved it to 4. Or it was 4 and they moved it to 6.
Wow.
I'm pretty sure 6 though is what I remember them saying. So that's really cool as well to be able to bring up to 5 other people in there with you and tackle some of these tough things. So like you said with the Switch, and with some of the deficiencies in terms of its online presence right now, like being able to have that ability if the game does indeed have that. Being able to have that, readily available on like the Xbox or the PS4 would be preferable for that. So yeah, really excited for Dark Souls Remastered, but not for the Switch version necessarily.
Right. Bender, I know you haven't played any of the Dark Souls games. The fact that it'll be available on the Switch, any more appeal, or does that add any appeal to it, or are you still kind of like, not really?
No, not really. I'm just not interested in the Dark Souls franchise in general. Just doesn't seem like my kind of thing.
Right. Okay. Yeah, no, it's, like you said, boys, it's just, I'm going to want to see this game at a higher frame rate. I mean, that's where for myself, when I see some of these older games running at a higher frame rate, that's the real appeal. I mean, yes, a higher resolution looks fantastic, especially on a 4K monitor, but when you just see some of these games in the animation style, especially the combat in a Dark Souls game, and you see that at a smooth 60 frames, that's where I want to see this game. So
yeah, and we've seen it in Dark Souls 2. We've seen it in Dark Souls 3 on the PC. Like we've seen what these games look like. We've seen it with the Surge. And we've seen what these games look like when they're running at 60 frames and how that changes combat. So I mean, that's definitely the way you got to go here. And 6 players online in Dark Souls Remastered, and that's either for PvP or PvE. So
I didn't even know there was a PvP mode in Dark Souls.
Yeah, there's some kind of PvP mode in it. So,
and again, that's all stuff that if I'm on the go, that's on the go playing in handheld mode. I don't know if I'll have the access to the internet to get the most out of that. But when I am at home on Wi-Fi, or if I'm just going to want to play it on the big screen on the PS4 and Xbox One to see the definitive version of it. So, yeah. It's just kind of one of those things. But I mean, if you're just a Switch owner, I mean, this gives you an opportunity to jump into Dark Souls, have it with you on the go. And if you don't mind not having some of the online portions, if you don't have Wi-Fi available on the go, so what? So you can play Dark Souls. And that is the whole point of it. It's getting a big franchise like Dark Souls onto the Switch to kind of give more and more options to the audience. So I dig that. I dig that it's there. It's just in terms compared to the Xbox One and the PS4 versions, I won't even bother with it. So. But hey, we're going to take a quick break. We got some music here from Ruel Ethan, and we'll be right back. And welcome back. Thanks again to Ruel Ethan for producing the music for this podcast. He does the opening, the closing, the music you heard right there. Follow him on Twitter at Ruel Ethan. Check out his music on SoundCloud and iTunes. All right, boys, let's get back into the news. Let's jump into some Destiny 2 talk. Bungie dropped a big update this week from game director Christopher Barrett. There was a lot of talk leading up to this. He mentioned it earlier this week on Twitter. And late on Thursday evening, we saw a big update from them talking about what we can expect from Destiny 2 through, from the beginning of 2018 and beyond. Mm-hmm. So, boys, what do we learn from this, man? There's a lot of good stuff here.
Yeah, I mean there's a lot here, man. So, one of the first really interesting things I thought they did was they kind of delineated between expansion, season, and Eververse. Mm-hmm. So they hadn't done this previously, and partly because probably they didn't have a good idea of the delineation between these things, but they do now after some of the feedback from the community. So Expansions obviously are the content that's purchased, so like Curse of Osiris and what will be Gods of Mars in the springtimer. So with expansions, what you can expect out of those are new campaign and strikes, new destination rewards, a new raid layer, new crucible maps, and new legendary and exotic gear. So that's all the stuff that will be locked behind expansions or content that is purchased. Seasons are content that will be available to all Destiny 2 players. So Iron Banner, faction rallies, like we saw the uproar about that. So that's been moved into the season bucket. Seasonal reputation rewards, endgame playlists, seasonal events, and new features and updates are all part of the season content that will be available to everybody that plays Destiny 2, regardless of what expansions they own. An Eververse, electively purchased or earned, includes customization items, boons, and emotes, as we know. So, so first and foremost, Christopher Barrett laid that out. So look, this is what you guys can expect from us going forward. This is what's going to fall in each of these buckets. So, I thought that was something that was worth mentioning there. Then they got into Eververse. So obviously, this is one of the very, very big topics of discussion in the Destiny community right now is Eververse and its place, specifically after the Dawning, which was an event that relied heavily on Eververse, and basically everything that you could get from the Dawning was located inside of Eververse. So many people were upset about that. So this is what Chris had to say about Eververse. We recognize that the scales are tipped too far towards tests at the moment, and Eververse was never intended to be a substitute for endgame content and rewards. So we'll be making 3 changes for upcoming seasons. We're shifting the balance of new content in favor of activity rewards over bright engrams. So this includes ghosts, sparrows, and ships, to date only found in bright engrams, to achievement reward pools. So what that means is some of these things that they come out with going forward will be obtainable outside of the Eververse ecosystem or the Eververse economy. So Ghost, Sparrow, ships will be able to actually get that stuff from activities in the game like we did in Destiny 1. So like we would complete a raid in Destiny 1 and get a cool ship or something like that. Like that kind of stuff is going to happen again. We'll provide a gameplay path to earn bright engrams and all contained rewards, including event engrams. So we've heard a little bit of that with Crimson Days, and we'll mention that in a second here. We'll give players more direct purchase options and make adjustments to bright engrams to allow players to get the items they want more often. So we've begun implementing these changes for the Crimson Days event beginning February 13th, with even more changes on the way in Season 3. So right off the bat, we know that completing the Nightfall, Raid, and Crimson Days milestones during Crimson Days will reward you with an exclusive legendary emote, weapon skin, and exotic sparrow, respectively. So if you're doing the math on that, when you complete the Nightfall, you'll get an exclusive legendary emote for doing that. When you complete the Raid, you'll get an exclusive weapon skin. And when you complete a Crimson Days milestone, you will have access to an exotic sparrow for completing that stuff. So that's awesome. Players will earn double engrams at level up. So they'll earn 1 Crimson engram and 1 Illuminated engram for the duration of the event. So that's good to hear as well. During the Dawning, you got 1 engram at a time. That was it. So you're going to get double that with Crimson Days. Crimson engrams can also drop from completing the Crimson Days match and from completing the Crimson Days milestone on each character. So, if you remember Crimson Days with the original Destiny, it's basically a Crucible mode. It's doubles matches, so it's 2-on-2. And now, by simply participating in those matches, you'll have a chance to get a Crimson engram to drop at the end of one of those matches. You'll also be able to just complete the milestone. So a milestone, it could be something like complete 5 doubles matches or something like that, and then you'll have access to a Crimson Days engram by completing that. Each engram is very strongly weighted to new rewards when decrypted until all new event items have been obtained. So that's also great to hear. So we've seen some images of some of the loot pool that's going to be available for Crimson Days, and the fact that these Crimson engrams that you get, and sounds like we'll have a path to get those a lot easier than we did during the Dawning. That stuff will be weighted to the stuff that you don't currently have. So once all of that unlocks, then you might start to see some doubles. But it sounds like for the most part, you're gonna be able to earn everything that Crimson Days has to offer simply by playing through the normal stuff in the game. So that's good to hear. XP rates. So obviously, Bungie continues to investigate the XP rates. Don't have anything concrete on that yet. They mentioned that they did have a fix. Their first attempt turned out to be, quote, unworkably buggy. So they are working to investigate other angles. They'll continue to update us as they move forward with that, kind of trying to revamp how we earn XP and the rates at which they do. Now, this is the really interesting stuff, and that's the roadmap for the next few weeks and months here. So on January 30th, what we're going to see is the Masterwork Armor update. So, the Masterwork system will be expanded to include armor. Masterwork Armor provides increased damage reduction while using your super. So this is very interesting as a warlock, because the minute I pop my super, I get my ass handed to me. So to have Masterwork Armor on there and be able to increase my damage reduction, presumably you'd be able to kind of stack that across all of your armor. So if I had a Masterwork helmet, Masterwork armor, Masterwork boots, presumably my damage reduction would increase threefold when I'm using my super. So that sounds very useful. And of course, as with the Masterwork weapons, you can re-roll the armor stat type on Masterwork armor. And similar to Masterwork weapons, you can upgrade a piece of armor to Masterwork by spending Masterwork cores and legendary shards. So, this is a good like first step for armor, but more needs to be done with the armor in Destiny 2, and I hope this is the beginning of a bigger conversation around that, because as you guys know, with the armor in Destiny 2, it's very the whole system is very lackluster right now because everything is basically the same. There's really nothing unique about any of the armor other than the way they look. So the whole armor system in Destiny 2 is based around cosmetic appearance. Everything else, the perks are the same across everything. Like whether you're getting special raid armor or whether you're getting armor that drops like in the world, like they all use the same perks and they just give you some variation of your mobility, resilience, and recovery. So it's been a very disappointing system to say the least. Coming off of Destiny 1, which had very cool perks and abilities on your armor, and there was lots of different variations, and you would have a build for a void character and a build for an arc character, and you'd have all these different situations. You'd have a armor build for the raid, you'd have an armor build for a nightfall. I mean, there's just so many different layers of strategy and things that you could do with the armor in Destiny 1 that you can't do in Destiny 2 currently. So I'm happy to see that they're giving us a little bit more with Masterwork armor, but they've got to do more than just this. Like, this has to be the beginning of a larger conversation. Do you agree with that, Brent?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I like this, especially for Arc Strider, because I would pop that many times. And, if there's somebody super far away, you're just hanging out in the open. You have nothing to, like, hit them with. So it takes you a while to get to your object, because that's a combat super. That's a melee combat super. You got to be up close to really benefit. And if you pop it too early, or if you pop it and somebody's further away, you're screwed, because they have so many shots they can hit on you. So this way you can kind of get there a little bit, hope at the same speed, but hopefully be able to withstand some more damage. But no, I do agree. I think this has to be a first step. There has to be more to this, because like I said, man, everything, it all looks different, but the stats you basically tweak it. They're all the same armors. There's nothing that really sets them apart from one another, and that's an issue.
Yeah, definitely. Bender, what's your opinion on the armor system in Destiny 2?
I never put too much thought into it, but I mean, hearing you say what you're saying now, it makes sense. There's really not a lot of variation going on. I know there are some that have perks for specific things like arc or solar or whatever, and the exotic ones are the ones that have the most variation in the perks and stuff. But as far as the legendaries, there's not a whole lot going on there. So it would be nice to have some different things that you can do with the armor, and but I do like the Masterwork armor. I mean, that sounds like a good idea, especially for like the Dawnblade or the Stormcaller. I think those would be the ideal ones for warlocks, because once you pop those, I hate popping a super and then immediately dying. It's like the worst feeling in that game.
Especially,
you don't feel too super,
with Stormcaller, man. Stormcaller is really weak. I feel like I just get eviscerated every time I pop that thing. Yeah.
If you run across a hunter who's running Night Stalker, he just shoots that arrow at you. Your Stormcaller's done. You're done.
Dude, that's so annoying. Night Stalkers are so annoying.
Poor little warlocks. I'm sorry,
I
you
just
guys.
To Nova Bomb and just take them out that way.
Oh,
dude, you remind me of Ben Stiller and Happy Gilmore right now.
You poor
Your
things.
fingers hurt? Now your back's going to hurt because you just pulled landscaping duty. Anybody else's fingers hurt? I didn't think so.
Yeah. But yeah. So this is, like I said, I hope this is part of a greater conversation, because that whole system needs to be reworked. It's just vastly inferior to what they had in Destiny 1, and that's disappointing. Something also that they need to work on, and they're starting it with this January 30th update, is the raid reward rework. Say that 5 times fast. Raid reward.
Mm-hmm.
Raid reward rework. We are updating raid rewards to make them more unique and interesting. They will now feature mods with raid-specific perks. So, if you guys remember Destiny 1, like, that was one of the big draws of going into the raid and getting the raid armor. It's like you had perks that would then help you go back through that raid and complete it, and it was cool to get that stuff. In Destiny 2, there's none of that. Like, you get a piece of armor, and it's just like the other armor that you had before. It's just like what we were talking about. So, having raid specific perks is something that the Destiny community is very, very excited about. So we are adjusting the rewards to ensure a raid item drops from each major encounter. The raid vendor will also directly sell Leviathan and Eater of Worlds armor and weapons for purchase with raid tokens and legendary shards. We're also adding a new ghost with raid specific perks that has a chance to drop from the final encounter in the Leviathan and Eater of Worlds. We intend to return to creating more raid and other unique activity rewards in the future. So that's awesome. That's great to hear. That's some of the stuff that the community has been clamoring for. Now there's an update coming in February as well. And we got to talk about this first thing on the list, Brent, because I know it's something that you're passionate about. But strike scoring and high score tracking will be returning to Destiny. Maybe not in the way that you think, though. So strike scoring is coming to Nightfall and replacing the current time limit mechanic. The scoring is similar to the Destiny 1 system, but with adjustments to emphasize competitive execution of strike objectives and support for player-selectable score modifiers. In February, Nightfall high scores will be exposed in-game via new emblems and will unlock rewards. We also have plans for clan and community high scores in the works. Brent, what are your thoughts when I read that paragraph?
Okay, first thing I'm going to say is strike scoring, high score tracking, all that stuff sounds cool. And I haven't played it yet in a Nightfall setting, so I can't speak to if that's going to be fun or not.
Mm-hmm.
I am absolutely disappointed that they're removing the time limit mechanic. And now I understand I'm in the minority on that, okay? And I understand that there's a whole lot of people that didn't like that. I love the time limit mechanic because it created a sense of urgency. It made it more exciting. Especially those times where we were able to beat the strike or the Nightfall with like 10 seconds or less. I mean, when you saw that countdown clock, you were constantly working. You were trying to think on the fly. You were trying to figure out a way. How can we pull this off? It gave everybody an opportunity to be like a hero at the last second to pull it off. It also took a lot of strategy. It took a lot of communication. Once we played through it one time and we lost, we weren't even close to the boss, and time ran out. We would come back out, go to orbit, reevaluate the situation, talk about what we encountered, and then we would set up our loadouts to match what we needed them to be at. Okay, I'll bring this, you bring this, you bring this. We'll use this ability here. We don't have to fight the enemies there. And we strategize, and we would talk about it, and that was exciting. And then we go in, carry out the plan, and it was effective, and we had just enough time to complete it. That was exciting to me. I thought that was really, really, really fun. I thought it made the Nightfalls a much more hardcore experience. Look, if I want to just go in and do a strike mission and I don't want to have any kind of like time limit to it, I'll go do strike missions. I'll go do heroic strike missions. I want the Nightfall to be the Nightfall. I want it to be the most intense, the toughest, the most hardcore experience. Now, I don't know if the strike scoring and high scoring is going to bring that yet. I don't know. I haven't played it, so it might. All I do know is I love the time mechanic. I loved it when we got our asses kicked and we went back to orbit and we came up with the game plan and executed it the next time through. I loved the jubilation when the time was running down and when we pulled it off. I enjoyed all of that. I thought the time mechanic was fantastic for Nightfalls. I really, really do. I understand I'm in the minority. I understand there's people that just want to be able to go in and be rewarded. I wanted to earn my rewards. That's what the Nightfall is all about. If I want anything else, I'll go do strike missions. I'll go do a number of other things. I liked the Nightfall where it was at.
Yeah, and we've talked about it a lot on this show, obviously, since Destiny 2 came out, and like you mentioned, man, we are in the minority when it comes to the time limit mechanic. There's a lot of people that hate the time limit mechanic and they can't stand it, and they're very excited that that's being removed from the game with the February update. But as you mentioned, man, like I've come to appreciate the time limit mechanic over the months that we've been playing Destiny 2. And I just think back to a few weeks ago when we did Sabbath and Song, but that, like you mentioned, that first run that we had was just so poor, and we made it to the boss with little to no time. We're like, all right, we really got to rethink what we're doing here, because that was really, really piss poor. So we came back out to orbit, thought things through, figured out, like that first run that we took, we figured out exactly what we had to do, exactly what was expected of us, exactly how much time we needed when we got to the boss. And we worked all that out, built some characters and some builds around that concept. Then we went through and we executed it, and it was awesome. Like, that was an awesome feeling going through and doing that. And the jubilation, the sense of accomplishment, like the feeling that you get when you complete a Nightfall under these kind of like strenuous conditions is really unmatched. Like it's a really special feeling when you get in there and you knock that out. So I am gonna miss that as well. But like you said, we don't really know what the scoring system is gonna entail. It could be an experience that's just as intense without like a time limit mechanic. We don't know. We don't know how it's gonna play out. But so I'm really curious to see how that all works out as well. Bender, what are your thoughts on what they're planning to do with the Nightfall, man, and the changes, specifically removing that time limit mechanic? Are you relieved? Are you upset? What are you thinking, man?
I don't know. I could go either way on it. I do agree that it was very exciting when we would, finish the Nightfall with seconds left to spare. It was really thrilling to do that, but it was really disappointing when we would go through a Nightfall and fail repeatedly and get nothing for our efforts. So I'm not going to miss that part of it. And I think they could make it really fun, depending on what they do with the strike scoring. I think it's something that they could, make it interesting and just as fun. We'll just have to wait and see. So I don't know. I'm gonna miss part of the time limit thing, and I'm not gonna miss other parts of it. So I don't know. We'll have to see how it turns out.
I'm just and I want to kind of explain something, like, what I found appealing about it. I know, Benner, you mentioned, you didn't like the idea of constantly losing and not getting anything for it, and I can understand that. It's very frustrating. For me, that's the carrot on the end of the stick. That keeps me grinding. That keeps me going through the Nightfall. If I don't have the time, if I just play through the Nightfall and get my rewards, the Nightfall thing is done for the week. Okay, I'm done with the Nightfall. I'm moving on to something else that reduces the amount of time I'm playing. We're still getting legendary drops as we play it. We're still getting items that are dropping. We're getting rewards in some degree. But that's the carrot at the end of the stick. That's part of the grind. If I go into the Nightfall and we get our asses kicked, okay, we wasted some time, but let's regroup, let's re-strategize, and we go in and we knock it out. But now that we've removed that penalty for not being good enough, I just feel like that kind of eliminates that carrot on the end of the stick to kind of keep you going, keep you grinding, keep you going to it. Now, if you knock out the Nightfall in one go, there's no time limit. You just get through it. You're done with the Nightfall for the week. For the most powerful, rewards for that matter, in that regard, anyways. But I mean, you're still going to get rewarded if you complete it. I just feel like that carrot on the end of the stick was always like one of the best things about the Nightfall. I know, again, I'm in the minority. There's probably a lot of people that don't agree with me, and I understand and I respect that. But I really just enjoyed the way the Nightfalls were, man. I really do.
Yeah, so I guess at this point, all we can hope is that they can bring that same intensity, that same thrill of completion, that same just exuberation when you snatch victory from the jaws of defeat. Like, can they bring that with the scoring system? We'll have to see what they come up with. I love,
and I'm really sorry to cut you off. Another thing I really liked about the time mechanic is when they had those the modifiers where you could extend the time. The first time we were going through them, we had to jump through the rings. I was jumping through the rings as we're doing combat. It took us a while to realize. Benner was like, "Oh, hey, look, this doesn't start. The timer for the rest of the rings to go away doesn't start until you go through the first one." So then, once we figured that out, extended time made things much more doable. I love the idea of trying to find the what were the things called to extend the times when you had to shoot them? The anomalies. I thought that was really fun, trying to find them all. Searching throughout the map, scouring the map, trying to find all the anomalies. That's just that I really enjoyed. It made the Nightfall so much more unique compared to the strike missions. I'm sorry, I digress. I'm done. I'm bitching them out too much. I just really enjoyed that time mechanic and all the different elements to it.
Yeah. So it remains to be seen what will become of the Nightfall with the February update here. But I really hope that strike scoring comes to the other strikes, specifically the heroic strikes. I loved strike scoring in Destiny 1. I thought that was a lot of fun. Thought that added like a whole other element to the Nightfalls and to the strikes in that game. So I hope this is the beginning of a of a bigger rollout with this, specifically to the heroic strikes in the future. Would love to see that. So also in this February update, Mods 2.0. Very excited about this. Work is underway on a full rework of armor and weapon mods. This will focus on reducing redundant mods, more unique theming, and greatly increasing the impact on your power. We are aiming for a February release, but with the scope of the rework, this could push parts or all of it into early spring. We'll be evaluating how mods play into the Bright Engram economy as well, because we're sensitive to pay-to-win outcomes. So really excited to hear that they're working on the mod economy, or the mod system. That's definitely something that needs some work. So we got quick play improvements, some PC tower chat stuff, exotic repetition reduction. That's great. Players this will prevent players from receiving the same exotic twice in a row. You may still receive duplicates, just not consecutively. How about this, Bender? Fire team members on the destination map. You will finally be able to see the other members of your fire team on the destination map. No more having to ask your fire team where they went when they fast travel to another landing zone. So
yes, this is what I was waiting for. I was like,
yeah,
I felt like it was such an oversight that you weren't able to see your fire team members on the map. Like that, I think I talked about this before, but like one time I was playing with Frankie and he wasn't using his mic because Jin was asleep. So like I didn't know where he was. So I texted him. I was like, "Hey, we're gonna go to another planet. Are you ready or what?" And I didn't hear back from him. So I just left. And he was like right in the middle of a lost sector. He was like about to beat the boss when I went to orbit. He's like, "No!" But I didn't know because I couldn't see him on the map. I didn't know what he was doing. So I'm glad that they finally implemented this into the game.
Yeah, one of those quality of life improvements that's been a long time coming. Mm-hmm. So moving on from there, so then we have what they're classifying as spring. So like I said, this was a very detailed outline that Bungie's like they laid out what they're planning to do this year, or for the next 6 months. So we have an idea of some of the stuff that they're going to be focused on. So for the spring, we're taking the time we need in development of Expansion 2 that will allow us to react to player feedback from Curse of Osiris. And there's been a lot. So they've got a lot to pour through with that before they release Gods of Mars. In the coming months, we'll talk more about what you can expect to find in Destiny 2's next story. The team is eager to show you what they've been working on. So, I don't know. I would expect maybe late February, maybe into early March, maybe we start to hear about what Gods of Mars is and what that's going to entail. So we can look for that around that time. Independent of Expansion 2, the team will deliver a number of new features that will be released before or during Season 3. So Season 3, I would assume, would start with the next expansion pack. Every player of Destiny 2 will receive the new content in the following categories. So this is a big one here, the Crucible. We want to give players new reasons to play, more variety and balance improvements. Spring will bring a number of exciting and long-awaited features to the Crucible. So first and foremost, rank. Crucible rank is coming. So beginning with Season 3, we will introduce seasonal Crucible ranks. There will be 2 different ranks for players to pursue. A progression rank, that's called Valor, that goes up as you complete matches. Winning helps you move up faster, but there are no loss penalties. And then Glory, a progression rank that goes up when you win and down when you lose. Performance is how you move up here. Brent, when you hear this kind of stuff, is this get you more excited about the Crucible? Is this something that you'd be apt to jump into a little bit more as they implement like a ranking system like this? Or is this still just going to be something that like kind of the hardcore are going to latch onto and that'll be kind of their thing?
I think it appeals to both crowds. I mean, you got the Valor, which is more, winning is how you move up faster, but there's no less penalty. That's cool for the casual crowd. And then Glory's going to be there for the hardcore crowd. But this kind of stuff is what keeps me invested in playing Crucible. When you see those numbers, when you see the Glory rank moving up, you're like, I got to win a couple more. I'm going to play a few more matches to see if I can rank up, and that in turn is going to get you more Crucible tokens. You'll be able to get more powerful gear by completing the Crucible milestone every week. But that's just the carrot on the end of the stick. That's stuff that's going to keep you grinding, keep you going. I want to get my Glory up as high as I can. I think that's awesome. I think that's awesome that they're adding that, but I like that there's one Valor. Get your Valor for the people that are like more casual, and then Glory for the hardcore folk.
We can assume that there'll be some kind of like a rewards as you rank up your character. There'll be, like you said, that carrot on the end of the stick. So like, I need a little bit more Valor, and I can unlock this package that might have this weapon. Like I can definitely see them doing that kind of stuff. How do you feel about this system, Bender? Is that something that is of interest to you in the Crucible?
Yeah, it seems interesting. I don't know how much I'll play in the glory mode because I imagine I won't be able to get very much above 0 because if it goes down when you lose, I'm not going to be doing... Is there going to be negative glory?
So if you go negative, does that mean you're in the glory hole?
Somebody had to say it.
I was waiting with this crowd. I knew it was coming. So.
So yeah, it's cool though. Whatever you can do to get more rewards is always a fun time.
Definitely. I mean, I know it's something it's been a long time coming in Destiny. People have wanted this for a long time, so good to see that it's finally coming sometime in the spring here. Private matches returning in the spring, thankfully. How about this? 6v6 playlist is returning to Destiny 2. So we're bringing 6v6 PvP to Destiny 2 in addition to the current 4v4 game modes. So, Brent, let me get your thoughts on this, man. So, as we sit here, 3 months removed from the release of Destiny 2, what's your thoughts on the 4v4 system? Is it working, or are you excited to see that they're bringing 6v6 back?
I think this is going to kind of cater to two different feelings. If you're in the mood for a more intimate, more slow-paced, more strategic mode, you're going to go 4v4. If you're looking for more high octane, obviously you put two more people on each side in these maps. These maps are all going to be the same maps. They're not going to be scaled for 6v6. So you're basically throwing 4 more people into the match. That's going to create a lot more action, a lot more gunplay. There's going to be more stuff going on. So it's going to create a more intense match. So you're going to get 2 options, man. Do I want to go 4v4 with my mates, with 4 of my squad members, play through a more strategic match, or do I want to go more guns blazing, a more high-octane experience for 6v6? I like 4v4. I like 6v6. It's going to just depend on what I'm in the mood for.
Yeah. What do you think, Bender? How do you feel about the 6v6 playlist coming back versus the 4v4 that we've had with Destiny 2 so far?
I'm okay with that. I mean, I liked the 6v6 in Destiny 1. But like Brent was saying, I mean, the maps, these maps are like scaled for 4v4, so it's going to be a little bit more hectic having 4 extra people on the map, and you're going to be running into people a lot more often. But that's fine. I mean, it'll be fun, I'm sure. As long as people get it through their heads that you don't have to have multiple people in a control zone to capture it. I still see people standing there 2 or 3 at a time on the same zone. I'm like, come on, guys.
I mean, I do it, and I think other people do it because you get points for it. So regardless of if the circle goes up faster or not, like everybody that's in the circle at the time it's captured, they get the points for it. So if you're going for, if you're trying to get like the points, or you're trying to get a medal for being the guy that gets the capture points, like you're gonna stand in that zone regardless, because you get the points for it. So that could be a little bit of what factors into it. I don't know. As we sit here like 3 months later, I kind of wish they would bring back the fact that when multiple people are standing in the zone, the zone captures faster. I just think it makes more sense for that. For a control match,
kind of added another layer of strategy to it and everything.
Yeah. And plus, it seems like it kind of contradicts itself. Like you mentioned, you get more points if you're there. So obviously, more people are going to go there. You might as well reward the group for going to the objective to speed it up. I mean, that's always the point of an objective-based games. Work as a team. If everyone goes to this objective you're going to reward them points. You might as well reward them for going to the objective and have it fill up quicker.
Yeah, that's the thing. After playing it for like 3 months, it's like, it's kind of counterintuitive. It goes against the sense of like teamwork. So it's like, we could leave this guy here and go to another part of the map, but when there's only 4 of you anyways, like just leaving this one guy behind to capture the map, and maybe 1 or 2 of you go somewhere else, like, that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. So so I'd like to see them, maybe revisit that idea. Maybe they'll do it with the 6v6. I don't know, but and we don't have any idea what this means. Like, we don't know if every game mode is now going to have 6v6. If you're just going to click on the 6v6 playlist and you're going to get everything, or if there's going to be like certain match types that they're going to do 6v6. We don't know anything more about this other than that 6v6 is coming back. Bungie has heard the cry of the community, and this will be a thing sometime in the spring. The Mayhem event's coming back, which is great. Mayhem's a ton of fun. And then they've got some other fixes they're looking at in terms of like quitting. Here's some of the other stuff that they're looking at for the spring. Weapon and ability balance pass. So they're looking to get in there and adjust the sandbox. Exotic weapon and armor balance pass. So something that there's some much needed balance in there with some of the guns. Seasonal reputation will be looked at. Improved Iron Banner and faction rallies. Here's one I'm excited about. Playlist repetition reduction. This feature solves the problem of experiencing the same playlist entry multiple times in consecutive or frequent succession for both Crucible and Strikes. So you know how annoying it is to play a Strike, and then you're in the Strike playlist, and then it pulls up the same exact Strike you just did for you to do again. So the understand that they've figured out how to work with that is great.
And especially if you're in the same group of people, it's got to be even easier for that algorithm to work. Because, I mean, if we're all in the same group, I mean, obviously, Strike, if you're doing matchmaking, it's going to be a little bit more difficult, and you still might come into that, where you're playing the same map. But if you get with your buddies, it's me, you, and Bender, and we're playing through it, obviously, every time it should be a different map.
Yeah. I agree. So, very excited that's going to be a feature moving forward. Endgame player pursuits. This is big. We agree with your feedback on the imbalance between achievement and bright engram rewards, and we will be making adjustments to shift more rewards into specific endgame pursuits instead of generic XP grinding for bright engrams. We are excited to share the details as soon as we have them worked out. So we're going to get a taste of that with the Crimson Days, with some of the ships and the ghosts and things that are available outside of Eververse. Sounds like we're going to get some more of that moving forward. They're looking at that multi-emote wheel sometime in the spring. Vault space. We're targeting an additional 50 slots to player vaults, so that's exciting. They're also adding an exotic accessory tab, so you'll no longer need to spend vault space on exotic ships, sparrows, and ghosts. PC clan chat and then heroic strike changes. We'll be introducing modifiers to add more gameplay variety to the experience. Once again, another Destiny 1 thing that was missing in Destiny 2 that they will be bringing over sometime in the spring. So hyped about that. And then fall 2018 or sooner. So these are some of the... So this is what Chris says. We are working on a lot more that we're not ready to discuss yet. Expect more on this small sample of items in the future. So item collections and records. So we've heard some rumblings of dead ghosts returning, of record books. This sounds like something that they're looking at for the fall. Weapon slot and archetype improvements. So curious what that refers to. Do you think that they could be reconsidering the kinetic power, kinetic special power system that they have right now? Could they be reconsidering going back to what they had with Destiny 1 with the primary, secondary, heavy?
I haven't had too much of an issue with the new the weapon slots the way it works now, but I mean, geez, how much more are we going back to Destiny 1 here?
Yeah, I mean, the reality is, man, and I've said this before, but at the end of Destiny 1, like with the 3-year journey that we had taken with that game, Destiny 1, by the time we got to the Ages of Triumph, was an incredible video game. There was a lot of content in that game. They had worked out a lot of the systems. The end game was really fun. There was a lot to do. Every week you had stuff to grind for. You were trying to get god rolls on weapons and get your tier 12 gear, and there was a lot to do in that game. There was a number of raids that you could do. The raids were fun. There was a lot of really cool gear that you could get from those. So there was just a wealth of different avenues for you to take, whatever type of player you were. Destiny 1, when all was said and done, was just a wonderful game. So, as we come into Destiny 2, like, we're expecting to get that experience and just change some of the stuff we didn't like. I don't think any of us expected as many changes as we got to this game. And it's funny because we talked about when Destiny 2 was originally releasing, we're like, people were like, oh, it's just more Destiny, right? Boy, little did we know it was a lot more than just more Destiny. So there's a lot of just really like nitty gritty changes to the game that they overcompensated in terms of the casual player for this game. And now there's going to be some walking back that needs to be done. And the reality is, man, by the time Destiny 1 was done, they had figured a lot of this stuff out, which is why it's kind of disappointing for a lot of people that some of this stuff we have to go back and kind of figure out all over again. So yeah, I while we've all kind of adjusted to the way the system is right now in Destiny 2, like I never use fusion rifles. I never really use shotguns. It's just like I'll use sniper rifles every now and then. Grenade launchers, never use those. Don't use rocket launchers like I used to. So it's like by having all of those weapons in that power slot, it's like a lot of those aren't getting used. I'd be very surprised if how many people use fusion rifles. I feel like those don't get used at all. They have
I basically shard them every time.
They have like no purpose now. So, and that was one of my favorite guns in Destiny. I always rolled with a hand cannon or a scout rifle or an auto rifle, and then that second slot was almost always a fusion rifle for me in that game because I loved using those things. So while we've adjusted to the Destiny 2 system, there's a lot of guns that don't get any attention right now. So I wonder if that's something that they're gonna look at moving forward. Additional Crucible playlists. How about this Rumble? So people have been clamoring for Rumble ever since Destiny 2 came out. It's on the list. Better clan rewards, masterwork exotics. Hell yeah. Pinnacle weapon and gear improvements. So this is, once again, a much needed feature. The stuff that you get from prestige activities and raids needs to be top of the line stuff. Same thing with Trials of the Nine. Shaders and dismantling. Please give us the ability to dismantle multiple shaders. Please. It's a pain in the ass to do those one by one. The future of guided games and addressing solo versus fire team matchmaking. So that's kind of what was in this update. A huge update. For me, it's really exciting. There's a lot of stuff in here as a nitty gritty Destiny fan, as somebody who is just engulfed in this community on a daily basis. And there's a lot of really, really exciting stuff in here for me. And this is the stuff that the community's been talking about, the stuff that we want to see. And hopefully this is the beginnings of a bigger conversation about other things that need to be looked at, like we talked about, like with the armor system, like with maybe changing the weapon system, like with hopefully doing stuff with Gods of Mars that some of the community's been talking about, and putting out an expansion that would hit better with them. So when
that says, I'm sorry to cut you off. So
no,
when that says address solo versus fire team matchmaking, does that mean not in competitive, but what's the other mode?
Quick play.
Quick play. Does that mean if I go in solo, I'm not going to get paired up with 3 randoms, and then we play a team that has 3 fire team members? Is that what they're getting at on that?
Could be. I
hope so, because I hate that
sure.
in quick play when I jump in by myself. Yeah. And I notice I'm playing a whole other fire team, and I'm playing with just 3 other randoms. It's like, dude, this
you're playing the whole clan.
yeah, that's basically what it is, and you're at a total disadvantage. So I think that's awesome if that is what they're referring to there.
Yeah. So Bender, let me get your overall thoughts on this list, man. So everything that we just ran down here, everything that they're looking at with Destiny and what they're looking at to improve here. What are your thoughts, man? Is this what you want to see from them? Is this what you want to hear? Is there something else you want to see? Kind of wrap this up for me.
I think for the most part, yeah, they're making some good changes. I like that they're continually improving the game, trying to listen to feedback and balance things and all that stuff. Real quick, though, I want to go back to the weapon balancing thing. I understand that there's certain weapon types that aren't being used a whole lot, but whatever they do, they do not need to be moving sniper rifles and shotguns out of the power slot. Those need to stay power weapons. It's because I'll tell you why. Because that ruins the Crucible when you have people running through with a shotgun, taking people down, because they have as much ammo as they want, or the people who stand in a corner and just snipe from across the map. That's one thing I hated about playing Crucible in Destiny 1. So they have fixed that by putting those in the power slot, and I appreciate that. I hope they don't change that. So fusion rifles I'm fine with. They can move those to another slot if they want, because those don't really bother me. because the fusion rifles still take a fair amount of skill to nail someone with it and take them out in one hit. But a shotgun, you could just run around a corner and take somebody out in one hit and keep running. And sniper rifles, obviously, people get way too good with those. So I do not want people to have free access to ammo for those weapons again.
And that's exactly why they did what they did, Bender. And that's kind of the divide with a lot of people in the community. Like the people that play Crucible and that are invested in the Crucible, like they love that. They love that change was made. The people that primarily play PvE though, like it's really fun to use shotguns and sniper rifles and fusion rifles and you know, it's really fun to go through these high level activities, these raids and these strikes and be in nightfalls and have that stuff at your disposal on a more regular basis. So that's kind of the divide, and I don't know if they've kind of nailed that exactly yet, the balance between those. So you know, maybe that's something they can look more at in the future. But yeah, you're dead on with the Crucible though, and that's exactly why Bungie did what they did. It's because of the Crucible. It's because of what happened with Destiny 1. But overall though, are you satisfied with what we're hearing from Bungie here? Are you satisfied with kind of the list of things that they're looking to tackle moving forward?
Yeah. I'm satisfied with what they're saying here and what they're working on. Yeah, like I said, sounds like they're making some really good changes and working on some things. And yeah, I'm glad we're gonna be able to see people on the map. I'm seriously, that's one of my favorite things I've heard.
That's
these updates.
That's the one thing you're zeroing in on.
Yeah. Cool.
Brent, what about you, man? So you know, we play Destiny all the time. We talk about Destiny all the time. As a hardcore Destiny player, is this the kind of stuff that you want to see and hear from Bungie? Is there something that's missing on this list that you want to see? Or what's your kind of final thoughts on this?
I think the one thing I wish we would have seen on here is, you know, they want to change nightfalls and whatnot. I would have liked to see them address the Iron Banner and make it more of the Iron Banner that we had from Destiny 1. That's probably the one thing I really wish I would have seen on this list. I mean, if you want to take anything from Destiny 1 and bring it over to Destiny 2, it would be the Iron Banner and its old rules where power level matters, because that's the Iron Banner, like, it's just when they say, hey, the Iron Banner is going this weekend, I'm not going because I want to play the Iron Banner because I think it's awesome because of what it is. I'm just doing it for the milestones and whatnot. When the Iron Banner was the Iron Banner Destiny 1, I was like, dude, I worked my ass off to get my character to this level. I'm ready to take that character to the Iron Banner and really just impose my will on people. That's not there anymore, and that's disappointing to me. But everything else that we see here, this is progress, and this isn't going to be a sprint. This is going to be a marathon. It's going to be a long point. Like you said, Destiny 2 in 2 years is going to be a completely different game. There's going to be more content. There's going to be more stuff to do, and we'll all probably love it. Right now, Destiny 2 is trying to figure out what it wants to be. Bungie's trying to figure out what the fans want. They realized they aimed for casual people at the start. It was a mistake. And now they're slowly trying to get to where the hardcore want it to be. Some of these changes here I don't agree with. I don't like the Nightfall change. Not at all. Again, I don't know what it's like to play with the new system, so I can't say that sucks. I just think the removing of the time thing sucks. But everything else here that we see, this is all progress, and all of it sounds appealing. Making weapons more unique, adding more, the new mod 2.0 system sounds awesome. A lot of this stuff can create more unique items, and you know what that does is that's another carrot at the end of the stick. If there's an awesome, a legendary weapon that's got some new perks added to it, I'm gonna want to try to work to get that gun. So you're making these weapons, making this armor more unique. That will create that grind.
Yeah, no question. They've you know, done some good things recently. It looks like they have a list of things to work on that are exactly what we're looking for as a Destiny group. So I read an article. I think it was on Kotaku recently, and I think they kind of hit on what a lot of people are feeling and maybe why there's this kind of negativity with some of the fan base with Destiny 2. But it's like when Destiny 1 came out, it was a new and exciting thing. It was something that we had never seen before. This particular kind of shooter, you know, we've seen shooters in the past, but this was like a new thing, and Bungie was figuring it out, and it was fun to kind of be on that journey and go through and watch Destiny change and evolve. And where Kotaku hit the nail on the head is I think that some of the longtime fans, like, they're like, we've seen this movie before. Like, we went through this journey already. Like, I'm not really excited to go through that journey again.
Right.
Like, I was there from the beginning with Destiny 1. I watched it through the 3 years. I watched it progress and end as this awesome game that I love. It's when I'm not speaking as myself right now. I'm just speaking as a fan in general. So so when Destiny 2 comes around, like, you expect all the great things that they did and figured out with Destiny 1 to carry over to Destiny 2. You don't expect to get into Destiny 2, play through that game, and then realize, oh boy, they got a lot of work to do here, and and this is going to be the same type of journey. Like, they're gonna release that first expansion. It's gonna underwhelm people. There's gonna be a lot of uproar about it, and then we're gonna kind of build and change things. And hopefully, when we get to this second expansion, like, hopefully it's received like the House of Wolves, and it changes things, and it gets people excited again. And then hopefully later in the fall we get that Taken King expansion, and Destiny 2 changes from a base level and becomes this incredible game once again. It's like some people are I just think I hadn't really thought about it in that respect, but I just think Kotaku just hit it on the head with that. It's like the hardcore fans have been through this already, and it's maybe not as exciting to go through this process the second time around. So
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Yeah, but I remain excited about Destiny 2. I'm excited about the things that are on here. I wanna get back with Destiny 2 to that feeling I had with the first game. Like, I just want them to nail the end game once again. That's really what this is all about. Like, the end game is not where it needs to be right now. So that's really what Bungie needs to focus on getting, and some of these changes are for the better. And I'm gonna be here for the long haul, man. That's the reality. I'll be here through all the changes, and I'll watch this game change and evolve. I'm kind of ready to go down this path again, and hopefully, a year down the line, we're talking about this game, and it's peaches and cream once again, man. We'll see.
We'll find out. All right, that's your Destiny moment. We got a couple more stories we want to address here. First up, a couple of stories on remasters. First up, Assassin's Creed Rogue Remastered is official, and it's coming to PlayStation 4 and Xbox One on March 20th. The remaster will include all the game's add-on content and 2 bonus missions, the Armor of Sir Gun quest and the Siege of Fort de Sable. The game will also feature the Master Templar and Explorer packs, which contain customization items, weapons, and special outfits like Bayek's legacy outfit from Assassin's Creed Origins. The re-release is being handled by Ubisoft Sofia, the studio behind the original game, and will run at a standard 1080p resolution with 4K support on PlayStation 4 Pro and Xbox One X. So March 20th, Assassin's Creed Rogue Remastered will be available on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. And then also, Burnout Paradise HD Remaster shows up again. A Burnout Paradise HD release for PS4 is now looking a reality following a full listing at online retailer Base.com. The racing game is listed for release at £34.99. Though the release date differs from the previous one that was leaked earlier this week. Base lists the game launch as March 30th. No further details are given. So once again, boys, Burnout Paradise Remaster shows up somewhere else. We still don't have an official announcement outside of Japan. What do you think about this one, man? March 30th? Do you think that's when we'll see Burnout Paradise HD?
Yeah, it sounds like sometime towards the end of March this game's going to release, probably in the West here. So yeah, around maybe the Japanese release date is different from the Western release date. I don't know, but if the European release date is around the 30th, then that's when we can expect it over here in the States. I think the moral of the story is through the UK leak, through the Japanese leak, through the ratings board leak, like, this game's real. It's just I don't know what they're waiting for in terms of the announcement on this, but Burnout Paradise Remastered is a thing. It's just a matter of time before it comes out, and probably sooner rather than later, we are going to have this game maybe by the end of March.
I don't know about you, Bender, but I sure hope so.
Yeah, same here.
All right, let's jump into some Xbox stories. First up, PUBG passes 3 million players on Xbox One. This game launched just over a month ago, and already 3 million players, or 3 million copies have been sold on Xbox One. PUBG Core and Xbox are excited to share that through the end of 2017, the PUBG community on Xbox One has already grown over 3 million players. And I can tell you right now, man, there's been quite a few updates. One came out this morning. This game is coming along nicely now. There's no longer the real laggy parachute drop-in. That's been smoothed out. The gameplay is feeling better. Shooting feels much, much better now. Early on when it released, if you tried aiming down the sights and the lag started to kick in, it was nigh impossible to pull off headshots or even get a good beat on somebody. But now the game feels very, very good shooting. Obviously, it's not perfect. This is still a ways away from where it needs to be. But I feel right now it's it's the best state this game has been in by far. I mean, it's coming along big time since a month ago, and it just feels much better to play. It's running much smoother. I still see a little bit of rubber banding once in a great while, even though this recent update is supposed to have addressed that quite a bit. It's not nearly as bad as it was before, but overall, this is starting to feel like a much more polished game, but there's still a lot of work to be done. But I'm really happy to see 3 million units, boys, in just over a month on Xbox One, man. What's your take on that?
Yeah, that's it's very impressive. I was upfront with my uncertainty with this game when it was releasing, how it would be received on consoles. Obviously, it's been just a massive success on the PC with just dozens of millions of players on there. So and with 3 million players already on Xbox One, it's clear that the console players have taken to this game as well. Mm-hmm. So, like I said, I was upfront with some of my skepticism on how the console gamer would take the PUBG, but I guess it just goes to show just how transcendent this game is. For whatever reason, PUBG has just managed to just transcend all video game boundaries. So whether you're a casual gamer or a hardcore gamer, you know what PUBG is. You've heard the name. You've seen people talk about it, stream it. It's just a cultural phenomenon in video games, and this just goes to show that this thing can't be stopped no matter what platform it's on. So, so I'm sure PlayStation is watching this as well, and they're watching the millions of players that are coming to Xbox, and I think they're probably even more set on getting this game onto their platform at some point in the future, because this thing is just a juggernaut that can't be stopped.
It really is. And like you said, we were all a little just wondering, is this thing really going to take off, especially with Fortnite out there. It got out ahead of PUBG, and it's still been a pretty big success. Yeah. But for 3 million units sold since December 12th, I believe it launched, that is just, it's impressive. I mean, there's a lot of people that play this game, and you did mention, this game is appealing to a lot of people. It's 100 people, but the map is huge, so casual people can drop right in. It's pick up and play. You jump into a game, you drop in, and you're trying to find stuff, trying to find gear, and you just try to survive. But the hardcore people, it's very appealing to them as well, because it takes a lot of strategy to be smart about taking shots, grabbing the gear, when to engage, when not to engage with other players. It's just there's a lot of depth to this game, and like you said, it's appealing to a wide variety of players. And 3 million sold in a month is really impressive. So congrats to PUBG Core. For getting that thing on consoles and for scoring yet another massive hit on another platform. Man, when this thing finally reaches every platform it can be on, man, PUBG Core is going to be very, very wealthy. So
yeah, and good on them. Still, I think it's worth mentioning again that it's going to be very, very interesting to see how this whole battle royale genre plays out, because we're, everyone's predicted it, but we're starting to see more and more games that are throwing this battle royale mode out there. And when we get to the fall and the next the next Division or the next Call of Duty or one of these big time franchises, one of these really big games has a fully featured battle royale mode, where does that leave PUBG and some of these other games? Is it still the transcendent game that it is? So that's going to be very interesting to watch going forward. But obviously, this thing shows no signs of slowing down anytime soon.
Benner, still no interest in PUBG?
Meh, not right now.
That's why I love Benner, man. He doesn't buy into the hype. It's whatever, dude. I'll just go play Destiny 2. All right, moving along. Little Triangle arrives on February 7th as a Play Anywhere title. This is the description on their website. Little Triangle is a polished, fun-to-play platformer that features a mini battle royale mode. The game offers more than it's coming to everything. The game offers more than 60 cute and funny triangle skins, countless NPCs, a bunch of bosses, and an amusing level designs with tons of detail. This game is extremely easy to pick up and fun, and the fun starts as soon as you start playing. It aims to be one of the most exciting and hilarious party games while retaining a fun solo mode. So you can expect to play Little Triangle on February 7th. Sea of Thieves closed beta arrives January 24th. The beta will run from 4 a.m. Pacific time on January 24th to 12 a.m. Pacific time on January 29th, which gives pirates a full 5 days of sailing, shanties, and shenanigans. This is obviously from Xbox. We've created a bespoke experience for closed beta players that offers a true taste of the pirate life and a great chance to get your sea legs ahead of March 20th. We won't be testing a full game. We won't be testing the full game during the closed beta. We want to keep a good selection of the things up our sleeves for players to discover at launch. So get your calendars out and get those dates penciled in. The beta will be accessible to anyone who joined the Sea of Thieves Insider program before December 1st and anyone who pre-orders the game. So make sure you hop in there and check it out. Benner, you want to hop in there with me? Boys, let's all hop in there and finally see what the hell this game's all about, shall we? And I actually believe the NDA drops on the 24th, so we can stream this.
It does. They said the NDA will not be on for this. You can stream it and talk about it, whatever.
Looking forward to it. So that should be a good time. Now, this next bit of news I am excited about. Forza Horizon 3 Xbox One patch is incoming. Forza Horizon 3 will receive a new patch on January 15th, thanks to which support for Xbox One X will be enabled. The open world racing title will be able to run in native 4K resolution and will also benefit from other unspecified technical improvements. I'm excited to see this just because I want to see that Hot Wheels expansion in 4K and hopefully HDR, because that will look absolutely fantastic. That Hot Wheels expansion is freaking awesome. Like I said, I am not a simulation racer, but man, playing Forza Horizon on Hot Wheel tracks, that's aces right there, dude. That shit was fun. And moving from good news, let's go to some downer news. 343 Studios hints that there will be no Halo 6 this year. Damn it. That's a bummer.
Hashtag sorry, JD.
Sorry, JD. But there may be other releases that'll surprise you. On the 343 blog, a community manager wrote, quote, 2018 has arrived, and with it the promise of new fun times to be had and adventures to embark upon. No, not those adventures, obviously referring to Halo games, but plenty of exciting ones regardless. Some which might surprise you more than others. Any guesses, boys, what 343 is hinting at?
I don't know, man. This sounds like something small, maybe here or there, that we might see. Maybe an update to Halo 5. Maybe an expansion for Halo Wars. Maybe stuff like that. I think is what we could see. Maybe there'll be like another Spartan Assault type title that they release. Maybe one of these small downloadable games. Maybe there'll be another comic book series. Who knows? But doesn't sound like Halo 6 now. That doesn't mean they won't tell us about Halo 6. Was anybody expecting Halo 6 to release this year? I certainly wasn't.
I wasn't expecting it. I thought it would be cool, to take advantage of the Xbox One X, have that be that big title this fall, because that would definitely move units. Another Halo game, but I wasn't expecting it. I just thought it'd be an opportune time for them to release it. Yeah. But what they're referring to here, I have no idea what they could be hinting at.
Yeah, I don't know. I just thought the next time we saw Halo would be maybe in an E3 or that type of setting. Like maybe this next E3 we'll see the Halo, but we won't see it until the following year. I can't remember how they typically release these games. I feel like when they did Halo 5, they showed us that teaser, and then it was a few years before the game eventually came out. But I don't remember exactly. But yeah, I could definitely see them announcing the next Halo at E3, and then getting something ready for 2019.
Right. Okay. We also found out that the achievement system might be getting an update here, and it might be called Careers. A new system called Career could be added to Xbox, adding leveling, quests, and loot avatars sitting alongside existing achievements and gamer score. Windows Central reports that it has received documentation showing that Microsoft is currently testing Career, which seems to subsume the current achievement system. Completing achievements will contribute towards your gamer tag's level, and leveling up rewards players with loot boxes containing cosmetic items for their Xbox avatar. Players can apparently even prestige in this system. Career will apparently also include quests, which rewards players with more XP and loot boxes for doing specific things, such as playing a specified game. Going by the documentation, it appears loot boxes cannot be bought with real money. Well, that's a plus.
Boy, I would hope not.
Oh, that would be a disaster. But, Bender, I know you actually completed some of these quests, and you didn't get anything for it, right?
I completed the November quest, never got anything for it. I've been trying to get in touch with Xbox support about that. And then I also completed the December quest, but I did get a code for $5 on the Microsoft Store for completing that. So, yeah, it worked that time. So I'm wondering if maybe I did something wrong and didn't actually complete the November quest. I don't know. Mm-hmm. But I do like the idea of quests, and this sounds like a cool thing if they incorporate it into the achievements and stuff, because it has been encouraging me to play my Xbox more, and try to get the stuff done that they want me to do. To if there's a reward at the end, I think it's a cool thing to be able to to encourage people to play the system a little bit more. I think that's a good idea.
Man, if they're giving you Xbox Live credits, hell yeah, that's a good idea. Mm-hmm. Yeah. $5, that's pretty sweet, dude. I like that. Mm-hmm. And then the last bit of news, the Xbox Duke controller has a release window and price. Original Xbox designer Seamus Blackley, who is working on the project with third-party accessories company Hyperkin, announced a release at the end of March and a $69.99 price on his Twitter account. Obviously, I did not have an Xbox at launch back in the day. I think the Xbox Duke is just a hideous controller, but obviously there's people who love it, man. That's what they started playing on, and that's their baby, and I dig that. Boyce, what's your take on that $69.99 price, buddy?
My take is they can keep it.
Bender, you picking one up?
Yeah. You couldn't pay me to play on a Duke controller. That thing is so huge and ugly. I don't know why they're doing this. I guess some people want it just for nostalgia's sake, but oh my god, I remember when the Xbox first came out and holding that thing like this is the biggest controller I've ever seen. It's insane. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm not doing it.
After using the DualShock 4 and using the new Xbox controller now, I don't have any nostalgia for it, so I wouldn't buy it just to be like, hey, I got one over here. And I sure as hell wouldn't plug it in and be like, hey, I've gone from playing these very comfortable controllers to this hawking thing. No, I'm good, man. I'm set with what I got.
Yeah.
And then one more thing I want to mention before we get to PlayStation. Could we be seeing something about Cyberpunk 2077 this year, boys?
Man, well, it was very strange this past week. When the Cyberpunk account, the official Cyberpunk account, they haven't tweeted in 3 years. Mm-hmm. They put out a 4 years. They put out a tweet that said beep. and that was it. And people lost their shit over that. So I guess the account went and got verified as well. If I'm verified. So the account sent out a tweet for the first time in 4 years, got verified. Boy, it sure sounds like we're close to at least hearing something about this game. Like, could this be the year where they start showing us stuff about Cyberpunk, getting ready for a 2019 release? I could see that, man. Yeah.
I could too, and I'm really curious to see more about this game. Obviously, we haven't seen anything from it. I would love to see a trailer. I would love to see maybe a hint of gameplay, something along those lines. Very short, obviously, but I'm ready to hear about Cyberpunk 2077. I was never able to just sit down and play through The Witcher 3. It's one of my gaming shames of this generation. But Cyberpunk 2077, that's something that just speaks to me in volumes. And I will make sure that I play this game, and I'm just really excited to hear more about it. CD Projekt Red is obviously a very talented developer, one of the best there is out there. They know how to create a beautiful world with a lot to do that you want to spend a lot of time playing it. So I hope to God we hear something about Cyberpunk 2077 because this game this is speaking to me, dude.
I mean, 2019's got to be the targeted year for that one, right? Because just thinking about this, I assume that they want Cyberpunk 2077 to be a this generation game.
Mm-hmm.
So if we go much further than 2019, like we're getting close to when we might be seeing a new console somewhere in that frame, or at least talking about new consoles. So
and a game of this scale, a developer's not going to want to have to worry about working on the PS4, PS4 Pro, the Xbox One, the Xbox One S, the Xbox X, Xbox One X, and then new consoles. They're going to want to focus on what the biggest install base, and that's these 4 consoles. So, yeah, I agree with you, man. I think 2019, anything past that, you're kind of treading into dangerous waters.
Yeah, I mean, once we get to 2019, we're 3 years removed from the Pro being released at that point. So then we have to be getting close to talking about PS5 and whatever's next for Xbox at that point. So, if I was a betting man, I would bet that their goal is to try and get this game out for 2019. But I don't know, man. With the activity on the Twitter account, though, sure seems like they're getting ready to start doing something.
Oh yeah,
with it. So.
Yeah, I'm hyped to hear about this one, dude. All right, Mr. Boyce, let's get into the world of PlayStation. What's going on at Sony?
All right, so we have an email we want to get to. So there's just one story I'm going to touch on here, and that's the holiday sales for PS4. So Sony came out and they announced that this holiday season, Sony has now sold more than 5.9 million PS4 consoles through the holiday 2017 season. The company also announced that as of December 31st of 2017, total global sales of PS4 eclipsed 73.6 million units. Sales reached 70.6 million units in early December. So that's a lot of consoles that were sold over that period of time. Additionally, over 55.9 million PS4 games were sold during the holiday season across the world in retail stores and digitally via the PlayStation Store, making for a grand total of 645 million games sold since December 31st. Sony also announced the number of PlayStation Plus subscribers has reached 31.5 million. So not too shabby. PS4's performance over the 2017 holiday season is slightly lower than the year prior, as console sales during the 2016 season reached 6.2 million units, which I was surprised by. I didn't realize that this year was a little bit less even than the year prior, but 5.9 million consoles. So basically in the span of a month, this goes from it's November 21st through December 31st. It's something like that. I don't know the exact range, but basically over the span of a month, almost 6 million PS4 consoles sold. So not too shabby. If I do say so myself. On the heels of that, Brent, Zuge was tweeting this past week, and he had an interesting graph that he put up. So PlayStation 4 sell through for the last however many years. So 2013 launch year, 4.2 million PlayStation 4s. In 2014, 14.3 million PlayStation 4s. In 2015, 17.4 million. In 2016, 17.5 million. And in 2017, 20.2 million PlayStation 4 systems sold through to consumers through December 31st. And that got me thinking, we were talking about, I think it was on the last show, about the possibility of the Switch selling 20 million units in a year. And we were talking about how that's quite a few consoles. Well, apparently PlayStation just did it. So apparently 20 million consoles is something that can be done. So not out of the question then that the Switch sells 20 million units. over the next year. But yeah, that's a hell of a 2017. Obviously, a lot of great software for PlayStation 4 in 2017. A lot of great software on the docket for 2018. I just think it's going to continue to drive systems. As we get into like the 5th year of the console here, I don't see that stopping anytime soon. And also begs the question, how much did the Xbox and Switch sell over this holiday season? Because apparently Aaron Greenberg sent out a tweet recently where he said that Switch sold the most units in December and Xbox was second. So we just read some astronomical numbers from PlayStation. So I gotta imagine that those guys had very nice holiday seasons as well.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so interesting. It'll be interesting to continue watching these numbers play out over the next few years, man, as this console cycle winds down. So yeah, interesting stuff.
Yes, and sir. Yes, it is. So, all right. So that's the news this week. We got to jump into an email, though. Our buddy, Angels and Demons, sent us a nice, lengthy New Year's email, and that's why we love them. Here's what Angels and Demons had to say.
Thanks, Angels.
Reaching out for the new year. Number 1, my gaming resolutions. My gaming resolution is to complete 2 games a month. This will be a challenge with open world games, but I will grab a nice single-player campaign or indie title to complete the measure. It's a good decision. It's a good idea. 1 big title, 1 little title. You're on your way.
Yeah.
And then what he would like to see from Short Pause in 2018. Oh boy, guys, get ready.
I got my pen and paper ready.
I know you do. Besides the monogram Short Pause coffee mug for the new year, I'd like to see you all do more spoiler casts for games and or movies. It's great hearing an in-depth discussion on one game or film and add to the discourse via the comments. I agree, Angels and Demons. We do enjoy doing the discussions, the spoiler cast about the movies. We do hope to get some more out there for video games. Obviously, Boyce mentioned Little Red Lie might be a fine choice for like a spoiler cast, but that is something we're going to look at in 2018. Like I said, we want to add more variety in terms of the content, not just Let Plays or the Indie Spotlight, both things that we love to do, but more unique videos that'll kind of stand out and give you a reason to tune in every week. And I think spoiler casts are a fine choice. Boyce, what's your take on that, man? Spoiler cast for sure?
Yeah, it's something I want to do more of this year. I mentioned when we were talking about Star Wars, like that's something I want to kind of slide some more in throughout the course of the year. There's a lot of really great movies on the horizon for this year that I think are a pretty safe bet. They're going to cross over with our audience that really likes video games. So I think without question we'll be able to slide some more movie spoiler casts in throughout the year. I really enjoy getting in there and talking about that stuff too, and I would like to get some more in-depth game discussions with the site here as well. A lot of times with the podcast, we kind of give our first impressions of things, and when we completely play through a game or we review a game, we can get a little more in-depth on the podcast. But I like being able to play through a game and then talking through it in a little bit more depth. And whether we do a separate spoiler cast for that or whether we dedicate a segment to the podcast where we really dive into a game, I like that stuff as well. I think that's stuff that you don't get from a lot of podcasts. I think it's not usually a part of like the rundown for most podcasts. So if we can figure out a way to incorporate some more in-depth discussions into our content, I think that's a great idea. And I wholeheartedly agree with Angels. That's something we need to try to do this year.
Bender, you're no stranger to a spoiler cast here. You did Playing by the High Rules, 8 episodes there, and you guys also did a spoiler cast for Life is Strange. What's your thoughts on more spoiler cast, man?
I agree with you guys. That's it's definitely something I'd be down for. I enjoy doing spoiler casts and talking really in depth about a game or a movie. I think Frankie and I are planning on doing a spoiler cast for Life is Strange Before the Storm. I think if he hasn't already played it, he's planning on playing it soon. So probably within the next few weeks, we might be doing that. And, I'm sure there are going to be other games that'll come along that we'll want to discuss in more detail. So yeah, I could definitely see us doing some more spoiler casts for games and movies throughout the year.
I think for the games portion of it, it's just going to be games that have a strong narrative. I mean, obviously, we'll never do a spoiler cast on Payday 2, but You know, there's
Pac-Man spoiler cast.
he eats the ghosts.
Yeah.
And
What are your thoughts with the way the cherry was hanging over the banana?
Now, I got 100 points when I ate the cherry. How much did you get?
Why do you think it's 100? No, yeah. So, but no, that's something definitely we'll look at, Angels, and that's something we hope to bring to you, bring to everybody that tunes in every week. So we're gonna try to get that content out to you as well. And then finally, Angels got some questions for us. Questions. All right, we got answers. Number 1, I got married this year. Sorry to hear that. Number 2, no, I'm just joking.
Congrats, Angels.
Yes, congrats. I got married this year, and we have a 9-year-old at home. Since the November move-in, it's been difficult to get any gaming in. How do you do it? What is your approach to getting your gaming time in? So with on so many consoles, while still balancing the important time for family, kids, and reading and working out. Well, obviously, I don't work out, Angels, so this should be easy. This might be a little bit more difficult for me to answer, but I'll go first. It's a balancing act, dude. That's what it really is. I mean, obviously, it'd be a little bit different if I wasn't, part of this website trying to, do podcasts and make videos and whatnot. But it's a balancing act. It's a give and take. You take utilize the time that you do have, the free time, to get a little bit in. You might not be able to play for the long sessions that you're accustomed to. I know that's one of the things they used to cut back. I remember when Skyrim came out. I just got married, didn't have any kids, but my God, I was up all night playing Skyrim. Those days are long gone now. And if I do decide to stay up all night playing a game, I am paying for it heavily the next day. Because your kids, they don't give a what you've done the night before. They're going to say, hey, look, I'm waking up at 6. You better be up, fat ass. And it's just like, oh, boy. So at first, you'll try to push yourself. But after a while, your body will be like, you can't quite do this anymore, especially as you get older. Now, in terms of working out and all that jazz, that's on you. You got to figure out where you're going to get in. There's only so many hours during the day. And the fact is, the older you get, the more responsibilities you take on. Gaming, no matter how much you love it, that's the first thing that's going to get cut, because there's so many other things that are priorities. It's not so much trying to find the time. It's just accepting the fact that you're just not going to have that time anymore. And that's just where it was for me. It was a difficult transition, but it's one that had to be made. But I still get my time, and I still get my gaming in. I'm still up a little later than I want to be, but damn it, that's what we do for video games. Boyce, you have a pair of kids at home. Answer the man.
Yeah, so for me, Angels, I think one of the big tips I would give you is pick a day that you want to set aside for your family or for your wife. So pick one day and stick to that day. So whether it's Saturday, whether it's Sunday, whether it's some day during the week that you normally have time, make that a day where you can either go on a date with your wife, just to spend time at night with your wife, or spend time as a family doing stuff, and always stick to that day. So regardless of what happens, no matter what comes up over the course of a week, or what game you want to play, or what's going on, you always set aside that day for your family or for your wife. I think that can help you out tremendously. Just make sure that you stick to it. As far as working out goes, one of the things, it's actually something I've been trying to work on as we start the new year here. I've been trying to eat healthier, get on a more regimented exercise routine. And what I find with exercise is figuring out a way to kind of work that into my daily routine. So that's one thing. You want to try to make it routine, so it's just it's almost muscle memory. It's just part of your daily life. You get on the treadmill, or you lift weights, or whatever it is that you're doing. And I found for me that it works best if I try and do this either before work if you have time, or right after work, when your mind is sharp and it's active, and you still haven't settled into your house yet. So when you get home, if you eat dinner and you kick your shoes off and you get the kids ready for bed, and all that kind of stuff plays out, at that point you're kind of settled into home, and you're not ready to do anything at that point. You're ready to just sit down, play a game, and then go to bed. But if you can somehow work your workout routine into something that you do immediately when you come home, or immediately when you get off work, I think that's where you can be effective with that kind of stuff. Because the minute you slouch into that chair, or you sink into the couch, you're gone for the night. So try and knock that stuff out early. And then For gaming, you just got to kind of accept that nighttime is your gaming time. Like that's it, man. Like in the morning, you're getting kids ready for school, you're going to work yourself, you're coming home, then you're hopefully getting a workout in, you're eating dinner, helping kids with homework, getting the kids to bed. You might have a show or a movie you watch with your wife, whatever it is. You got to accept that at nighttime, that's when you're going to be doing your gaming. So just realize that, and also I would probably try and like narrow your focus. So whether that's playing less games but spending more time with that particular game, or whether it's focusing more on like a particular system. It's very difficult to come down here at the end of the night and be like, man, I've got 4 systems that I want to play right now. I've got my Switch, I've got my Xbox, got my PS4, got a PS3, got a 360, like all these games that I want to play, and your mind just gets scattered, and then you end up not playing anything because you don't know what you want to play. So if you can narrow your focus, so whether it's a game that you can latch onto like Destiny, whether it's a system like Xbox, PS4, Switch, like whatever your primary console is that you play on, if you can narrow your focus, that's going to help you get more gaming time in as well. So that's kind of my tips, Angels. That's the stuff that I found over the years as worked best to try and work all this stuff together. So hopefully that helps you out a little bit.
Bender's like, I ain't got any of these problems, baby.
Like, I'm single, so I don't have any input into this. I pretty much, when we get done podcasting, I pretty much sit here in this chair until the next week that we start podcasting again.
Yes, Bender. Do you have any kids? He's like, none that I know of. It's like, wow, okay, that's awesome.
Yeah. None that I'm ready to claim.
But so hopefully that helps you out. And then question number 2. Finally, I feel like Pyre didn't truly get its due last year. Spoilers. But the final decision to free yourself, which tied into the game's overall theme of forcing the player to weight his or her gameplay goals versus the narrative goals of the players, is something I haven't seen before. Am I crazy? Was that mechanic significant but lost amongst last year's deluge of games? Or was it lost in its text-based narrative and subtle and nuanced gameplay? Well, I did not even fire up Pyre, so I can't answer that. Boys, you played Pyre, right?
I did play Pyre on the Indie Spotlight, but that was the only experience I ever had with Pyre, and it's something I wanted to get back to. And Angels, you're absolutely right, man. Pyre, from all accounts, from everybody I've read about, heard that's played through that game, it's an amazing experience. It's a game that I definitely need to get back in there and experience, and it was kind of lost in the midst of everything that was happening last year. And Pyre, even though it came out in the summer, if I remember correctly, there was still a lot of games coming out in the summer, so there was not like that summer lull that some people have become accustomed to over the years. I don't think we've had a summer lull in maybe the last 5 years. I think that's kind of a thing of the past now. But there was a lot of great games coming out around the time of Pyre, a lot of great games that people were playing because there were so many like giant games that came out this year that were all consuming and took people hours and hours and hours to play through and finish. So I think it did kind of get lost in the shuffle, but the people that played it really enjoyed it. But I do think that it probably was very underrated, kind of in the same way that, in my opinion, Sundered was underrated when all was said and done by the time we got to the end of the year. So yeah, it's good that he put the spotlight back on Pyre. Definitely need to go out there and play that. Obviously, it's a super giant joint. It's got a great soundtrack, cool game. I need to get back in there and play it myself. So I'm with you, Angels.
Yeah, I agree. I haven't finished Pyre either. I did play it for a couple of hours. Picked it up recently. I enjoyed what I played of it so far. But I can't speak about the ending. By the way, nothing you said was spoilery. You did a very good job of summing up in a general sense of what the game was like. But everyone I've heard talk about, like Boy said, everyone I've heard talk about the game has just absolutely loved it and thought it was a very unique and wonderful game. But it definitely did suffer from being released in 2017. It was a year where we had a deluge of amazing titles that came out this past year. So it definitely got lost in the shuffle to some degree. I am going to go back and check it out, and we'll probably talk about it on the podcast. Maybe we can all go back and play it and kind of talk about it to so we can discuss and know what you're talking about exactly. By the way, as a side note, if you enjoyed the music for Pyre, go and listen to the Play and Listen Gaming podcast. JD had Darren Korb, the composer, on his show. It was a very good episode. It was a very good discussion that he had with him. And listening to that episode made me want to go and play the game, because Darren Korb was talking about the final song that plays during the last credits. It's a song that he wrote, and it changes depending on the decisions that you made in the game, which I thought was an amazing concept that he did that. He said there was hundreds of different variations of the song that could play when you finish the game, depending on what you did throughout the story. So I was like, that sounds amazing. So I want to play through the game and finish it just so I can hear that final song and hear how it reflected my gameplay decisions. So that was super impressive when I heard that. But definitely give JD a free plug. That was a very good episode if you want to go and listen to it.
Dude, so on the official soundtrack, is there 100 different tracks for that last one?
No, I have the soundtrack, and I think he chose one version of that song and he just played it. And it's a good song too. I mean, if you listen to it, it's very catchy. I like the sound of it. But he just chose one just general version of the song. So
see, that's one of the things that's something that'll probably go unappreciated by most gamers. They won't even know that's there. But the fact that that's in there, that's such a unique decision, a unique a part of that game that no other. I've never heard of a game ever do that, or even a movie or anything like that. That is incredible, and that's awesome.
He's a genius.
He is. He really is. He's an absolute genius, and the fact that that's in there just makes that game that much more special. So that's awesome. But there you go, Angels. Thanks again for writing in, dude. It's always good to hear from you. Angels is so active on the site, too, man. He's always in the comments, he makes some wacky comments, too. And some of his comments I can't even read on this podcast right now, but he's an entertaining guy, and we love him, and he's been a big fan of the show, and we consider him a great friend. So, Angel, thanks for writing in, dude. Always good to hear from you. Keep them coming. If any of you have questions for us, or if you want to talk about anything, we want to hear from you. Podcast@shortpause.com. It can be the longest email ever. We've read some lengthy ones before. We would love to hear from you. We love talking with you. That's why we do this show. But that's going to do it for this week's show. Gentlemen, where can we find you gaming and tweeting? Bender.
I'm on Twitter at Bender_guitar. And you can find me on PlayStation Network and Nintendo Network at me_Bender, and on Xbox Live at mebender82. No spaces.
Voice.
As always, Brent, I'll be not tweeting at Piccolo930. Of course, that's my my PSN handle, Switch, Xbox, all that kind of stuff as well, Piccolo930. Make sure you come on over to our YouTube page. Check out the Tuesday Night Indie Spotlight, 10 p.m. Eastern. Probably looking at the Albert and Otto this week, 10 p.m. Eastern on our YouTube page. Like, subscribe, come on, hang out with us, all that good stuff. Come hang out with Brent and I.
Yes, sir. You can find me on Twitter at TheDude1979, Xbox Live, TheRealDude79, PSN, Nintendo Switch, TheDude79. Make sure you visit the website, www.shortpause.com. Follow us on Twitter at TheShortPause. You can listen to this podcast on SoundCloud, iTunes, TuneIn, Google Play, and Stitcher. If you like this podcast, go over to iTunes, give us a sexy 5-star rating, write a super long review about why you love this show. We would appreciate it. It helps get our show exposure on iTunes. Now, if you're not quite ready to give us a 5-star rating, that's cool. We don't want any fake ones. We want real feedback. So hit us up. You can do it on podcast@shortpause.com. You can hit us up on Twitter, or you can go right into the comments section for this podcast and sound off, dude. Just sound off. Write whatever you want to write. We take it all to heart, and we'll try to implement it into the show to make it more enjoyable for you. But that's only going to happen if we hear from you. So reach out, get a hold of us. We want to make this the best podcast that you never want to miss every single week. You can also watch this podcast on YouTube, Twitch, and our Facebook page at Short Pause Gaming. For Mr. Boyce, Mr. Holt, I'm Brent Felsing. Thanks again for watching and listening to the Short Pause Gaming podcast. We'll talk to you next week. Good night, everybody.
Good night, you guys.